Who said that?
I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is 5:30, July 10th, 2018. May I have roll call, please?
Coker?
Here.
Leone?
Here.
Moderano?
Here.
Pritchard?
Here.
Fabic?
Here. Next, is there anyone in the public that would like to address any comments or issues that are not listed on the agenda this evening? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to the approval of the minutes. First is for May 8th, 2018.
I'll move that we approve the minutes for May. Second.
Roll call.
Coker?
Here.
Reset?
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
I got to abstain.
Leone?
Yes.
Moderano?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Fabic?
Abstain. Next is the minutes for June 12th, 2018.
Make a motion to approve as written.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Coker?
Abstain.
Leone?
Yes.
Moderano?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Fabic?
Yes. Moving on to new business. BADJ LLC transfer of the conditional use permit number 2018-RMS-05 for the location of 911 East Main Street, Trinidad, Colorado 81082. The new business is to recognize a letter of the transfer of the conditional use permit. Do you want me to read that? Read it in order? Please. This is a letter requesting the transfer of the conditional use permit at 911 East Main Street, Trinidad, Colorado to the new owners. New ownership is the name BADJ LLC and 911 East Main Street LLC. The new owners agree to abide by the conditions A through H listed and attached to the conditional use permit number 2018-RMS-05.
And with that, Chairman, we can report that the backlog we had on any pending retail marijuana stores or medical marijuana centers has been met. So there are no more applications in process. So with this transfer, every potential applicant is now in the mix.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the public hearings. Before we start, I would like to see if city staff can give us an explanation about, the difference between revoking and expiring conditional use.
Thank you, Chairman. To expire a permit, the code does not provide any recourse for that. A conditional use permit that is revoked because the conditions that were placed on it at the time of approval are not being met, there is the option for that person to appeal the decision of the Planning and Zoning Commission to City Council for review. In the past, we've only expired conditional use permits when that person no longer has site control of that location.
If we were to revoke, is that where we could put a time limit on them, fixing the conditions, or where would that lie?
If the commission decided to revoke a conditional use permit, then the person would have to appeal to City Council. The commission would then be out of it, and City Council would review that.
What's the third option?
The third option is to renew the conditional use permit.
Can there be a stipulation as far as time limit on that?
Generally, the conditional use permits have to be reviewed annually.
But if there's mitigating circumstances in that particular item or that particular permit, is there that third? Is that a way to, for instance, come before maybe staff or before this board again down the road?
In a shortened time frame?
Yeah, like
yes.
a 90-day period of time?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the questions I had for city staff. I don't know if you had any other questions about that. I wanted to clear that up. Okay. So,
If you do decide to approve with conditions, please let staff know what you'd like to see. And if you, it's similar to the approval of a conditional use permit, if you wanted to say, reapprove something and have them come back in 6 months, please make it clear what you want to see happen in that 6-month time frame, so that the applicant would know, unless you just wanted, I think you would need to have a reason to see them in a shortened time frame. You could give us some direction.
okay, thank you. This moment, I'd like to open the public hearing. First one is decimals number 2015 RMS, MMC, RMCF, the OPCO, the MMIPM, and the RPMF04, the continuation of the conditional use permit review for 137 Cedar Street, Trinidad, Colorado. Can I have comments from staff at this point, or?
Thank you, Chairman. This public hearing is a continuation from our June meeting for Decimals Inc. doing business as Lucky Monkey Buns. And I believe Mr. Waller and Mr. Ham are present, the owners company. Lucky Monkey Buns received approval of these conditional use permits on March 10th, 2015, and the RPMF on June 28th, 2016 for the location of 137 Cedar Street. The business is currently cultivating retail marijuana while finalizing the remodel of the premises. 3 previous retail cultivations have been harvested. The first cultivation was harvested in April of 2017 and was sold locally to another retail marijuana store. The second harvest was in October 2017 and is awaiting product manufacture processing. The third harvest was in March 2018 and sold locally to another retail marijuana store. City staff has performed site inspections of the location, and their findings are: the site plans are consistent with plans submitted in the application. The floor plans, once remodel is completed, appear consistent with plans submitted in the application. Security cameras are in place and operating. The security monitors and equipment are operating and secured within the DVR room. Refuse is secured at the side of the building. The air filtration system is in place and operating in cultivation area and awaiting building inspector approval and installation in the store and manufacturer areas prior to opening. There is currently no signage for the business. All conditions of the CUP approval are met. Yesterday, staff received documents from the city clerk's office in which Mr. Waller voluntarily surrendered their Marijuana Enforcement Division licenses for the Medical Marijuana Center, the optional premises cultivation operation, and the medical marijuana infused product manufacturer. Staff interprets this to be a decision by Decimals to no longer pursue establishment of these conditional use permits and would like clarification from the owners if this is correct, and if they would like to maintain the retail marijuana store, the retail marijuana cultivation facility, and the retail product manufacture facility permits. And there was supplemental information here from the MED. It's what we received from the city clerk's office.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, may I have the applicants step forward? Please state your name.
Kevin Waller. Marcus Hahn.
So at this time, I guess you could go ahead and clarify first off what the city staff, had questions about. Are you planning on, what licenses do you want to renew this evening?
We're releasing all the medical licenses.
Okay.
So the medical product manufacturing, medical sales, and medical cultivation. Sorry, I'm nervous. We have turned that paperwork into the state,
Okay.
and they have those surrender letters already, so, yeah.
At this time, I guess, go ahead and, speak for your application.
Okay,
This time.
so, when we started all this, we come to the realization that we made some huge mistakes. We've learned from those mistakes. We took too much on at once. We had 6 licenses, and we just could not do it. We really wanted to do the medical end, and that's a struggle. So, lack of experience, I'll be right out and admit that. We made some very poor business decisions. We had a very hard time getting the building set up. We hired a contractor to install video cameras. That building is very large. And I can't remember how many cameras we have in there. Can you remember?
52.
52 cameras. And in the middle of the project, this guy walked out on us. Set us back. So one setback after another. We realize now we didn't have the right people in the right places to be successful. Right as we were getting our license, my wife got diagnosed. Sorry.
She was diagnosed with breast cancer. And then he lost his father.
She's
And his,
uh,
then he lost his father.
Yeah.
His father passed away.
So you guys had some ups and downs in the business, and right now, I mean, do you have what's your goal for the future?
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
rather look at the.
We have a very resolute goal. We're bringing in a business operations manager who is a very well-known and highly respected member of this community that's been doing business here for over 20 years. And Mr. Michael V. Hill will be the man who's going to take over and help with the business operations and get things started and opening the store by the time the Blues Festival occurs at the end of August. That is our intent.
Okay.
The other 2 licenses that we have are going to be the recreational manufactured infused products, and we anticipate having some of that going at least by the end of the year, at the very latest, perhaps sooner. And then we're going to continue cultivation once we scale back, and we have already scaled back from 3,600 plants to 1,800 plants as a result of an infestation that we've had, that we've been fighting ever since we started over a year and a half ago, of spider mites, and it's been crippling as far as the amount of product that we've had. So we've done our very best job to address that. I'm the certified pesticide applicator for the building, and we'll be working on that very closely.
so Karen and I have very humbly decided to step aside and pass the reins on to Mr. Vigil. I've had several discussions with him. We've had breakfast together. We've met several times. Super guy. I think he's very respected in the community, and I think he'd be a good person to take this on and be successful. I apologize for what's happened in the past. I would love to move forward. I want to see this business be successful. No money is changing hands.
Well, I think I can speak for everyone. Our heart goes out, and we wish you the best.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
I think at this point, if you don't have anything else, I think we can move on to questions for the applicant. Do you have anything else to say though for it, or I mean, or is that pretty much you?
No, actually dropping the medical has been a decision that's been very difficult for us, because we have now learned that we can only advertise to a group that we can guarantee, according to the CCNRs of the MED, are over the age of 21, 80%. So that limits that. We only had 3 patients, and the state has scaled back from anywhere from 50 to 100 plants per patient down to 14 each. And it would cost us $10,000. We only have 3 patients at this point in time that are potential. $10,000 for 42 plants. But we've gotten a way around that, fortunately, because for the last year and a half I've been searching for seeds that are very high in CBD and below 0.3% THC, which is the cutoff. Once you're below 0.3% THC, you're not classified as marijuana, you're classified as hemp. Yet I've got a very, very productive strain that's high in CBD, which is of course the medical aspect of what we're trying to do. And we're planning on doing that, and we have no limitations on how many plants we can have in our building as a result. So that's how we're going to get around that issue.
Okay.
It's perfectly legal.
Okay, at that point, I think we'll go on to questions. Does anyone have questions for the applicant?
No, I'm just one more time, tell me which ones we're abandoning?
The medical.
Medical sales,
MMC,
medical cultivation,
OPCO,
OPCO, okay, that's the one I was missing, okay.
okay, so we got the last
and
one.
MMIPM.
Yeah, okay.
So,
The only question I have, I saw that you guys had an actual theft too that happened back on April 21st. Can you tell me a little bit about that? I mean, did you guys get it resolved and will it happen again, or how's?
Well, that's an excellent question, Chairman. What happened is we hired an individual who had actually passed his state inspection for the criminal background check, and he came in and he was going to do our medical infused products, or recreational infused products rather, and ended up taking some of the product out the back door. So we have handed everything over to the MED and of course to Chief Glorioso of the Trinidad Police Department, and they're working on that now. How to prevent that in the past? It's an excellent question. We caught it because we have such great surveillance system in the building. 52 cameras.
Yeah. That's really the only question I have.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
appreciate it.
Thank you, ladies.
Is there anyone here to speak against the applicant or for it? Okay, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing.
This thing's pretty straightforward, doesn't it?
Yep.
We're gonna abandon 3
Yep.
CUPs.
Yeah, and then they can focus on what's left.
Yeah. So,
We'd want to do that in 2 separate motions,
2 separate motions?
one to expire and one to reapprove.
Reapprove.
2
the
separate
remaining.
actions.
Okay, at this time, can I make a motion to expire the 3 medical?
So moved. I'll second.
And for clarification, that's to expire, number
The
2015 MMC,
MMC,
OPCO.
the OPCO, and the MMIPM.
Thank you. -04.
Roll call?
Coker? Yes. Leone?
Yes.
Materano?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Bavick?
Yes.
And Chairman, I believe Ms. Clark is preparing the resolution that will be read into the record to that effect.
At this point, can we have discussion, or I guess, can we call for a motion on the approval on the second part, or should I wait?
I make a motion that we approve CUPs for RMS 04, RMCF 04, and RPMF 04.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Coker?
Yes.
Leone?
Yes.
Materano?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Bavick?
Yes.
We're just about ready here.
Okay.
Sorry, that's just.
Your order, me. Alright. Who would like to read this in for me?
Looks like a good job for the vice chair.
Okay, City of Trinidad Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission, resolution number 17. A resolution recognizing the expiration of conditional use permit number 2015-MMC-OPCO-MMIPM 04, approved by the City of Trinidad Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission July 10th, 2018, for operation of a medical marijuana center, operational premise cultivation facility and medical marijuana infused product manufacturing at 137 Cedar Street. Whereas the state of Colorado, through Citizens Initiative, in the general election legalized the sale of marijuana. And whereas the city of Trinidad, pursuant to the Colorado Revised Statute, CRS 12-43, 4-101, has established Chapter 14, Article 12 of the City of Trinidad Code of Ordinance to regulate the marijuana trade in the city of Trinidad. And whereas the city of Trinidad requires that any marijuana operation secure a conditional use permit prior to receiving a local license, and whereas the Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission, prior to issuing a conditional use permit, the safety and operation and mitigation of any negative influences to the neighborhood. And whereas the City of Trinidad Code of Ordinance requires that the Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission review any approved conditional use permits not less than once per year to ensure that the conditions associated with the conditional use permit continue to be met in the operation of the business. And whereas each annual review of the conditional use permit must be done in a public hearing, which has been notified in a newspaper for general circulation at least 10 days prior to the hearing, and written notice of the hearing must be sent to the permittee at least 30 days prior to the hearing. Whereas at the end of the public hearing, or within not more than 30 days, the Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission shall render its decision to reapprove or revoke conditional use permit, either orally or in writing. And whereas any conditional use permit not established within 1 year of its approval shall expire. Now therefore be it resolved by the Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission of the City of Trinidad, the conditional use permit number 2015 MC and OPCO and MMIPM-04 issued on 3/10 of 15 and 6/28 of 16 to Decimals doing business as Lucky Monkey Buds for establishment of medical marijuana center operational premises cultivating facility have both been deemed expired. Medical marijuana is an infused product manufacturing facility, introduced and read and adopted this 10th day of July 2018.
Thank you. Commissioner Leone. Next, I'd like to go ahead and move on to Crown Castle, and we are doing a continuation on that, correct?
Yes, staff requests the continuation for this review of this conditional use permit due to the difficulty in connecting with the owners of that telecommunication facility.
Are we going to continue it to the August meeting, and do we have to have roll call to do that, or?
I think we'd prefer to continue it to September if possible.
Okay.
And yes, we need roll call.
So we need a motion to continue
To September the
Crown Castle
11th.
September 11th?
16-10 to September 11th.
Okay.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Coker?
Yes.
Leone?
Yes.
Materana?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Babbitt?
Yes. Next, M&M Distributing LLC 2014 RMCFF, RMS, MMC, the OPCO 05 review of conditional use permit for 422 North Commercial Street, Trinidad, Colorado 81082. Staff report this time.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Mr. Micheliza and Ms. DeAngelis received approval of the Medical Marijuana Center and optional premise cultivation operation conditional use permits on April 22nd of 2014, and the retail marijuana store and retail marijuana cultivation facility on July 8th of 2014 for the location of 422 North Commercial Street. The location is fully operational as a retail marijuana store, medical marijuana center, retail marijuana cultivation facility, and an optional premise cultivation operation. City staff has performed site inspections of the location, and their findings are as follows. The floor plans are consistent with the layout of the original plans submitted at the time of CUP approval. Retail and medical products are kept separate at all times with tags on plants and separate display cases per MED requirements. Security cameras are in place and operational. Security monitors and equipment are secured within locked closet. Product is locked in display cases at night with excess product secured in safe cabinet. Refuse. The product refuse is destroyed per MED requirements and stored within the building until delivered to the Trinidad landfill. The air filtration system is installed and operating, and signage has been approved through the city's sign permit process.
Thank you. At this time, will someone come up and speak for the applicant?
My name is Jerry DeAngelis.
I'm John Mitchell, Iowa.
We're here asking for approval of the permit. I really felt sorry for the guys that were in front of us because everything that they said happened to us also. With the cameras, we got halfway in the cameras. So everything that they said, we did. But we have finally have become a successful business. We are where we need to be right now.
Good. I don't know.
I have a question. Could you explain your air filtration maintenance schedule and how that operates? Because there's marijuana odor up and down Commercial Street, and so could you explain your maintenance system on that, and has it been upgraded? Has it been inspected?
There are carbon filters and they're inspected. I don't know, mine's here every 60, 90 days. And then if they're plugged, they're replaced.
There is a maintenance schedule though, and it's done by TJ's Refrigeration. Oh, and here's Mike, he can explain it.
My name is Michael Reyes, I'm the head grower for the facility. Your question about the air filtration system. The first Wednesday on every month, we change all 7 of the filters that are in the ceiling, as well as clean or replace the carbon filters. TJ's comes out twice a year to come out and change all the filters that are actually in the air conditioning unit itself.
And it's been sized properly, you think?
Yes. Well, I have three. When we did the math, it scrubs the air about every cubic inch and every minute and a half. We went overboard on the air filtration system just to make sure that we didn't have any problems up and down the street.
Okay, thank you.
Since you started that, have you guys increased the product that you're cultivating since day one?
No.
And another thing is, I don't know if the city's requiring their staff does that, but I know what I have to do for filters in a cement plant. And are you required, or do you keep when you buy new filters and how many you bought?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
So that's available to city staff if they wanted it?
Yes.
We have viewed them. We have
Thank you.
viewed their maintenance logs.
Thank you.
I thought you guys had a pretty stellar report, and I thought it was nice just seeing your filter duty maintenance log as part of the package that you guys sent in. So I appreciate that. Is there any other questions? Okay. At this time, is there anyone to speak for or against this applicant? I'd like to go ahead and close that public hearing. I think it's pretty clear. cut and dry what we need to do on this one.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
May I have roll call?
Is that to approve all four, Commissioner Lee?
Yes,
Thank
all
you.
four.
Coker,
Yes.
Leone,
Yes.
Materana,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Babbitt.
Yes. Next is the Green Solutions number 2015 RMS-12. Review a conditional use permit for 1423 Santa Fe Trail, Trinidad, Colorado 81082. City staff, please.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Trinidad Retail D01 LLC received approval of the retail marijuana store conditional use permit on July 14th of 2015 for the location of 1423 Santa Fe Trail Drive. Transfer of this conditional use permit to the Green Solutions was acknowledged by the Commission on July 26th of 2016 to Kyle Spidell as operator. The location is currently awaiting remodeling with the expected completion date of August of this year. City staff has performed site inspections of the location and their findings are as follows. Floor plans provided by the operator upon inspection differ with the layout of the original plans submitted at the time of the CUP approval. Proposed new floor plans were provided by the operator and are currently under review by the commercial building inspector. While the layout differs from the original, there is no expansion of the permitted premise. Security cameras. The operator has submitted proposed security layout plans. Security monitors and equipment. The proposed plans indicate location within a locked closet in a locked vault. In regard to the refuse, the proposed plans are to keep the product refuse stored within the building and transferred to the vendor location for proper disposal per NED requirements. Non-product waste will be kept in a locked dumpster. Air filtration system. The operator provided air filtration information. In regard to signage, the operator will submit plans for signage in accordance with the city's sign permit process. At your place there, I put a packet there. It's marked agenda item 5D, and that's supplemental information provided by the operator for your review.
Thank you. Someone speak for the applicant?
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Nicholas Spidell. I'm one of the owners.
Brad Spidell, also one of the owners.
This one obviously took us a while. I wanted to. Do you have our timeline up there in that packet, or
Yes.
If not, I can give you one.
We got it.
We went through with the transfers at the same time with our Commercial Street location, and then shortly after our Republic location. We chose to get our Commercial Street location up and running. That took us a few months, and then we moved the crews over to the Republic location, where we've invested $2 million into developing 25 acres so far. Fully operational out there. We made a couple harvests. During that time, if you see on our timeline, we also just wanted to point out, and I know this isn't in the city of Trinidad, but we were opening stores in other cities and around Colorado, specifically in Aurora. What we found is that we opened a couple stores real close to each other, and those stores were splitting the traffic up, so what we decided to do is change the layout of the Santa Fe Trail location, fearing that we might run into the same issue. So we revised those plans, submitted them to the building. We've been working with Mr. Dan Weed, and we have commented on his last comments as of last week, and expect to get the project up and running in the next couple weeks, and then after that our crews will be on it full time, and we should be able to open it in roughly 60 days.
This is the one on Santa Fe Trail.
Yes, sir.
you guys have any questions for the applicants at this time?
What is it exactly that you changed on the Santa Fe Trail location?
Our commercial location is much more of a recreational volume mover. You come in and you feel the entire store. It's a traffic mover type of feel, which is the difference over on Santa Fe Trail will be more of a sit and wait to have an independent one-on-one conversation with your associates. So we found that some folks want to get in and out, like the bank. Some folks want to have that real sit-down, personal touch kind of feel. So we wanted to offer both those experiences in the city of Trinidad.
I knew there was a lot of extra space in there, so we decided not to do something else.
So there's not going to be any rows?
No,
absolutely. Just retail campus.
This amended packet is pretty detailed. It's nice seeing all the cameras and everything that you're planning on doing. So.
Absolutely.
And again, you were saying you were going to get everything approved, obviously through Dan Reed on the filter and the duct and the air filtration.
Yeah,
I don't really have any questions.
What is your basic timeline then? What are you saying?
it's on there. As soon as we get approved, we believe that being in the last phase of the comments, where Mr. Weed's last comments were very small items that we were able to easily answer. So if we can get started in the next 2 weeks here, we feel like we can be open into August. And our crews, we have 15 stores around the state of Colorado, so our crews are, this is very replicable for us, so we should be, we shouldn't have any issues with those timelines.
Might even be quicker.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Chairman, staff would request that if the commission chooses to renew this license, that the final floor plans, camera plans, all of the plans be submitted to the planning department.
That they what?
That all of the final plans be submitted to the planning department for the files.
That was a pretty good packet again.
So we're just renewing one CUP on the Santa Fe Trail location at this time.
It's the retail marijuana store.
Entertain a motion at this time, or
Did you close
want to have
it?
I'll close it. This time I'll close the meeting, the public hearing. I think again, I thought the packet was pretty clear.
So we're just waiting on final review.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Then they can move forward.
Yep. Exactly. So can I entertain a motion, or?
Well, I make a motion that we reapprove 2015 RMS-12 for Green Solutions, and include in the motion that the amended plans will be submitted to the appropriate departments.
And that's for retail marijuana.
That's for the retail
store. Yes.
on Santa Fe Trail only,
I'll second.
Roll call.
Coker?
Yes.
Leone?
Yes.
Moderana?
Yes.
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Yes.
And who should staff work with, Kyle or Eric or one of you to get those final plans on?
That would be Kyle.
Kyle, okay.
Absolutely.
We'll follow up with Kyle then when the plans are finalized. Thank you.
I'd like to open the Green Solutions number 2015 RMS-11A, the review of conditional use permit for 409 North Commercial Street, Trinidad, Colorado. Staff report.
Yes, Shelley Sheridan received approval of the retail marijuana store conditional use permit on July 14th of 2015 for the location of 409 North Commercial Street. Subsequently, on July 26, 2016, the conditional use permit was transferred to the Green Solutions with Nick Spidell as operator. The business is fully operational as a retail marijuana store. City staff has performed site inspections at the location, and their findings are as follows. Floor plans are mostly consistent with the original plans submitted. Current floor plans were provided by the operator. Security cameras are in place and operating. Security monitors and equipment are operating and secured within locked room and locked closet. Refuse, the product is stored within the building and transferred to the Denver location for proper disposal per MED requirements. Non-product waste is kept in locked dumpster in the rear of the building. Marijuana products are secured within a locked display cases overnight. The air filtration system is in place and operating, and maintenance log is being implemented. Operator provided air filtration information. Signage for the business has been permitted through the city's sign permit process. And the conditions of the conditional use permit have been met.
Thank you. This time, someone here to speak for the applicant?
Good evening, Chairman, Council, Commissioners. My name is Nicholas Spidell. I'm an owner of the Green Solution.
My name's Brad Spidell, owner as well.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
A couple of months ago, several of us were very concerned walking up and down the river. There was a lot of marijuana product refuse along the riverbank, piled up all over the place. We have photographs of it. A lot of it came from your store on Commercial. I went by and I looked at the dumpster. I could stick, you got a little chain across this dumpster. I could stick my hand in there and pull out product. We found your product, although there's perhaps nothing viable in it, all over the river. And I believe somebody went in your store to complain to your manager and was told pretty rudely that it was none of our business. And so I'm very concerned about, it says that you have refuse in a locked container out back. What I saw, that's not true.
Well, we do have some, I
I brought you.
don't know if you guys have these particular.
Yes, you can.
exhibits. But we do have the bar. We have added locks to the bar on the trash can in the back. We keep having it. It's not necessarily it's people getting into it. Homeless people getting into it.
Was the bars just done recently, or?
We just put the locks on it recently for the bar. Probably, well, I was like 6 months ago.
So have you had complaints about this in the past? There are people that are running your store for you, or?
Yeah, they constantly have to, kind of manage it. There's a trash can right in front of our store, so there, like literally a city trash can right in front of our store. And then the back is typically the problem, but there's a bunch of trash bins back there. I mean, you see pictures of other ones that don't have anything on them. And so I feel like we're trying to manage the situation, but I agree. With the pictures with the trash down there, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, it's KFC, it's it's on and on down the list. But I'm willing to help with whatever you guys think that would be an idea to help with that, because it is kind of a pestering problem. But I obviously don't want trash everywhere. I don't think that makes sense. But
A couple things too is we don't put anything regulated in there. We send it up north now. We actually don't even put our own packaging in there anymore, just because we were aware of this problem. The gentleman who was cutting our locks just happens to be a transient named Dominic. I don't know if he's well known in the neighborhood or not, but he was arrested 3 weeks ago, so our locks stopped getting cut. We go out there, our team goes out there twice a day to check on the trash can to make sure everything's okay. So we're trying to be proactive with this situation. We've also partnered with the folks next door to look out for anybody back there getting into the trash. So.
Well,
and then I just
it looks like a major improvement from what I saw
good.
there the last time.
Okay. That's what we're hoping for. I even talked to the coffee shop next door, and he actually had a friend that takes care of the rivers. He takes care of the fish in the rivers, and he's really concerned about it. And I said, if there's something we can do to help, you know, I will. I mean, I buy 15 signs up in the Denver area that pay for highways. So, you know, if we can get together and do something like that, where, you know, we're putting together a little group that goes and takes care of these things, or, you know, pays a fee, and we get people to go out and pick it up, you know, something cool like that.
Yeah.
I think just because, you know, I enjoy it down here. I come down here every other week, and you know, so I want to be a nice neighbor, you know. And I think we're really trying to be that, and so I just want to make sure you guys are happy with it.
Well, if you replace the little flimsy green one
Yeah.
with the little flimsy chain with this, I think that's a huge step for
All right. And if there's anything else that we can do, let us know, because we're open to that.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry about the manager thing. Totally uncalled for. That's already been taken care of. So I apologize.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
I have nothing else. The only thing I can say is you ain't the only one
Yeah.
that this is happening to.
Yeah.
But it seems like you're coming up with somewhat of a solution. We only got one river walk. And there's a lot of people coming, there are tourists coming to the river walk. And when you go down there and see trash from your place, it doesn't look good for us. This is good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Questions?
Oh, no, thanks.
Is there anyone to speak against this applicant?
For
Yeah.
For
or against, yeah.
My name is Ben DeLange, DeLanghe. I'm an attorney and I represent Trinidad Holdings, which is the building owner. And we would just like to say that the Green Solution have been excellent tenants through and through, and we fully support the renewal of their.
Not louder.
And I've never been told that, except oddly enough. So we fully support the renewal of their conditional use permit. They have been absolutely excellent tenants, and you can see the diligence. When any issues arise, they're right ahead of it. So we
Thank you.
fully support it.
Appreciate the comment. Anyone else? Speak for or against?
I'd like to make a comment. My name's Tim Peters. I think I was actually the one that found the garbage. And then I texted, because I was dropping down to go fishing. Right over that lucky monkey wall where you walk back in there, right? There were bags. This wasn't pulled out of a little thing. It was wide open. There were bags. We had 4 or 5 bags down there. All the plastic containers that they get the pot in and stuff was down in the river. We were walking, luckily I had my waders on, but we're down there just basically disgusted. Like, and I'm calling Howard. I know Howard probably contacted Wayne. He's like, don't touch it. And it's like, you know what? Eventually, just kind of broke into it. It was all Green Solutions. I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of transient, there's a bunch of trash back there. It was all Green Solutions, bags going down our river. That was horrible. I mean, I know it's not always these guys' fault and stuff, but, you know, we found it. We love our river. And that was horrible, just to have all that plastic.
Have you seen some of this? Have you seen these?
I haven't been down there in a while, so. But anyway, thanks.
Thanks for the comment. Anyone else?
So my name is Ryan Shaw. I'm the owner of Kansas City, right down the street from them, and I just want to say that we're trying our best as well. We had cameras moved, as they pointed out. There was, police contacted. Anything that we can do to help, we can. But when someone busts into your garbage with commercial lock cutters, you know, there's only so much we can do, and I just want to show my support, and I also want to say that with us and with them, you know, anything else that we can do, we're always here to try to help, and we definitely don't want to destroy the community. We don't want to destroy the rivers. We totally agree.
No, I'm pro pot, so I'm cool with it all.
Well, we're pro nature.
But I want to fish and I don't want to see bags.
Yeah,
You know, so-
we're with it. I'm just saying we had the cameras moved. We called the police. You know, it's something that we're all actively working on. So.
Yeah, cool.
We might have infused fish.
Probably need some fats and, you know, this. But, yeah, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'm gonna go and close that hearing. I think we can see they are putting some effort into trying to get those trash cans closed.
Yeah, I like this.
You know, if they're taking commercial locks, it's gonna, I don't know how much more we could do after they start cutting commercial locks off of trash cans, except have more cops going by or so.
More law enforcement.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yep.
So, are we allowed to make a statement to where the marijuana facilities have to have the metal tops such as this, so that the fastening bars will actually hold that down? Because, you know, some of us, we have plastic lids.
It's all supposed to be from the get-go that they're supposed to keep their refuge
No, and I understand.
secured and locked up.
And I understand that, but I guess where I'm getting at is some facilities might have plastic lids, which is easily.
I think at that point it's their responsibility to get in touch with their trash company and request the, you know, beefed up boxes.
But I think what Sam's asking is, do we have the authority to
stipulate?
Is there any way that we can stipulate something like that?
So.
Because it would be.
To clarify, you can add that to any new conditional use permits, but you cannot add stipulations onto any existing conditional use permits as part of your reapproval process.
We can recommend.
City staff can certainly, you can direct city staff to work with the marijuana operations to see that trash is secured. I've already made a note during my director's report to talk about maybe the fact that we need to put out a public service announcement, just making it well known that these trash cans have no product in them. That this is the, in our review last month, we had a Main Street, West Main Street group report that they had transients in their trash cans. So I think it's probably a citywide problem that goes beyond any individual operator.
Yes.
I doubt that the people getting in trash cans are reading public notices.
I don't know so either.
Well, there's a point well made there. Okay, we'll work with the police department to talk about how to make this problem better.
I think we should go to city council and have an ordinance passed that
requires
there have to be tamper-proof receptacles if they're going to be outside.
If that's a recommendation you want to make, then
make them bear-proof at the same time.
I was going to say, I don't know that we can isolate one particular industry and make a requirement on a city level, but we're certainly happy to speak with the city attorney about that possibility.
Yeah, I think
that's
we should
what we're here
pursue
for,
that.
yes.
I think we should pursue that.
I do too.
We can certainly get some legal advice on whether or not that would be a recommendation
Does that have
the
to be in
planning
a motion?
commission can make.
I mean,
No,
half the trash
that's a
going around
staff.
this town is from bears flipping over the trash can.
I think that's just staff direction. That's not an official action. We can report that back in our director's report.
Right.
So
I think there's got to be some responsibility to the owner of the building to maintain that trash. According to this man here, he said that you could actually pull the whole bag out. It wasn't just pieces. So that's telling me that there's some negligence there of not making sure that that stuff is contained.
So
Even if it was just lunch stuff.
I think we're seeing such a such a problem that it goes beyond this particular industry in terms of trash
agree.
ending up
I'm
in the
in
river.
that kind of industry. And
There's as much from the restaurant industry in the river as there is the marijuana industry. At this point, the city did a citywide cleanup and took truckloads of trash out. So I guess to my suggestion is that rather than saying this is an industry issue, perhaps what planning needs to do, and let us visit with the city attorney, this may just need to be a citywide issue that we need to look at.
Exactly right.
That is stemming from a transient issue more than it is necessarily a marijuana operator issue.
But I do think it's industry specific in that it's, some people are targeting the marijuana industry specifically to see if they can scrounge any product. So I do think it has something to do with that industry.
So I would respectfully say I do think it's beyond that industry based on what we looked at, what came out of the river.
It's beyond that.
I think that
agree.
because the marijuana industry is attempting to secure theirs through our reports, we're getting continued reports from not just Green Solutions and not just the corner store up here on Main and High, but it came up in several reviews. I think restaurants who aren't securing their trash, what we're seeing come out of the river and what we're seeing come out of the city trash cans is that it's an across the board issue of trash not being secured right now. I think it's just highlighted. My opinion, Commissioner, is a little bit different than yours. I think it's highlighted because we're reviewing these particular conditional use permits and not all business licenses.
So do we need an official statement from P&Z to you or to council to take a look at this?
I think you've already made a statement, and we'll take a look at it and report back to you at our August meeting about how that discussion is going on. I want to be very careful that the Planning Commission isn't officially requiring an industry to take an additional measure that other industries aren't having to take. If this stems from the problem of transients being in trash and problem of trash being in the river, because I'll respectfully disagree with you. I don't think it's an industry problem. I think it's a problem across several industries. So why don't you let us visit with city attorney and city staff and bring back to you maybe what the next steps might be.
In the August meeting?
In the August meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This time, can I call for a motion?
I'll make a motion that we renew the CUP for Green Solutions on Commercial Street, number 2015 RMS 11A.
Retail marijuana store.
Yeah, RMS, retail marijuana.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Coker,
Yes.
Leone,
Yes.
Materano,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Babbitt.
Yes. Thank you. I'd like to open the hearing for Freedom Road Garden on Main, number 2016 RMS 05, the review of conditional use permit for 514 West Main Street, Trinidad, Colorado. Steph?
Which ones are we on?
Freedom Road Garden on Main. Number 2016 RMS 05.
Thank you, Chairman. Freedom Road Garden on Main received approval of this conditional use permit on July 26, 2016 for the location of 514 West Main Street. The business is fully operational as a retail marijuana store. City staff performed site inspections at the location and their findings are as follows. Floor plans are consistent with plans submitted in the application. Security cameras are in place and operating. Security monitors and equipment are operating and secured within locked closet inside the office. Refuse is kept in secured box storage until processed through the state metric system for disposal and then transferred to their location on Freedom Road with a secured dumpster. Marijuana product is secured within a locked safe in the office overnight. All signage for the business has complied with the sign permit process. The air filtration system is in place and operating, and the conditions of the conditional use permit approval are met. And that's all we have.
Thank you. Is there someone to speak for the applicant?
Good evening. My name is David Aarons. I'm one of the owners of Freedom Road.
My name is Brian Dykes. I'm the general manager for the company.
Go ahead and speak for your application.
We're before you today looking for renewal of our current license. We've been operating our store for approximately 2 years. We employ 24 people in the city of Trinidad. We're growing 2 stores. We're very successful. We're looking to now start building our business and expanding throughout the state. We'd like to continue to center our business in Trinidad.
Do you have another location?
We do, sir. 2600 Freedom Road.
By the Acorn.
And that's still open?
Yes, yes, sir.
Oh, you're 24 people full-time?
Yes.
Is that in both stores?
That includes our grow and our 2 stores.
Oh, where's your grow located?
2600 Freedom Road, right next to our medical rec dispensary.
I really don't have any questions.
Can we address the trash issue a little bit?
Yes.
So one issue that I think some of us are having in the city with dumpsters, this pertains to my family also owns another building downtown that's behind.
A little bit louder.
My family also owns another building downtown that's behind all the dispensaries, and we've contacted the refuse companies in town. We've actually asked them for the more metal top secure dumpsters, and some of them have told us it's an issue. They just don't have any more to supply us. So we would love to. Our location out on Freedom Road currently has 1 dumpster that is metal top with the bar, and then 1 with the plastic lids. We'd love to get all metal top dumpsters behind all of the dispensaries in the city.
But out there on Freedom Road, you probably don't have the problem they have.
We actually have had a few where we've had to chase some of the transients off because they figured out where to grow, and we do have the dumpsters out there. They have not been successful in breaking into ours, but I think, it's something that everybody in the industry is very aware of. We see the trash just like everybody else. My employees have actually offered to volunteer their time and go down on the Riverwalk and do some cleanup work in their off hours. We're going to start exploring that as a community outreach for our company. And I think that if more people from the industry would kind of band together to do that, we can kind of tackle this problem.
So you're saying like our local refuse company won't supply you with?
They're just saying that they don't necessarily have enough of the metal top secured ones to provide for everybody that wants one.
It seems like, why not?
I know.
What's the problem?
I think they're expensive and they'd have to buy more.
But then they rent them to you, right?
Yeah, yes.
It's not like they're giving.
These are metal tops with cables holding them down with a bar and locks on it.
Like that?
Yeah.
I know we should make it a city
Very
law.
similar to cables also in the metal one, because that's what our dirt and our plant waste goes into by the minute.
That seems like a poor way to run a business.
Yeah. Well,
In your opinion, do you think it is an industry problem?
Not specifically. I think that it's a transient problem for in this community. As someone who's come here since the late 90s, I-25 as a corridor has always provided a really good travel route for the transient community to travel across this country. I do recognize there's a little bit of increase, but it's always existed here, and they've always been digging through dumpsters. Bears have also been an issue. So yeah, I think it's something that can be tackled with better containers and just a little bit more vigilance on our part to make sure that we're handling our trash appropriately.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your comments.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Well, I think, one of the biggest things we found out of this meeting, and I've been saying it for a long time, I think we need to definitely let city council know about our ideas about the trash can. You know, I mean,
I think the first step is city staff will set up a meeting with the haulers, the three hauling companies, based on this conversation and find out from their perspective.
and I would talk about
What the barriers
the
will
bear-proof
be.
dumpsters. I mean, you go to other towns and they're everywhere.
Well,
Every morning, there's 3 dumpsters by my house tipped over from a bear.
And bear-proof is not human-proof. They just have a,
Yeah, but if we're gonna stop trash from getting into the river, I mean, we gotta stop the bears also.
Because they usually carry the trash off.
Yeah.
They don't.
well, I know, but what I'm saying is a bear-proof has, a human can open
Right.
it. It doesn't stop
Yeah.
transit from dumpster diving.
Yeah, but the residential, you know, get the bear-proof dumpsters for residential at least, and then, you know, the commercial dumpsters should be bear-proof anyway.
Okay, well, so should we make a motion or what?
Yeah. Can we make entertain a
Need to
motion?
close the hearing, public hearing.
I think I did already, but go ahead.
I apologize, we got distracted by the bear-proof
I
dumpsters.
thought we had a
I
discussion after we closed the
apologize.
hearing,
Yeah,
so. No more discussion.
You're right.
Can we call for a motion?
I'll make a motion for Freedom Road Garden on Main. Conditional use permit number 2016-RMS-05, retail marijuana store.
Second.
Roll call?
Hooker,
Yes.
Leone,
Yes.
Martorano,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Savick.
Yes. Okay, at this time, I'd like to open up the hearing for Magnolia Road Cannabis Company, number 2015 RMS-11C, review of conditional use permit for 413 North Commercial Street, Trinidad, Colorado. City staff.
Thank you, Chairman. Shelley Sheridan received approval of this retail marijuana store on July 14th, 2015, so the location of 413 North Commercial Street. Subsequently, on May 10th, 2016, the conditional use permit was transferred to Magnolia Road Cannabis Company with Ken Martin as our operator. The business is fully operational as a retail marijuana store. City staff performed the site inspections, and the findings are as follows. Floor plans are consistent with plans submitted in the application. Security cameras are in place and operating. Security monitors and equipment are operating and secured within a locked cabinet within the office. Refuse is destroyed per MED requirements and held within the building until trash pickup day. Marijuana products are secured within a locked safe overnight. The air filtration system is in place and operating, and maintenance log is being implemented. Signage for the business has been permitted through the city's sign permit process. The conditions of the conditional use permit approval have been met. And I do want to make the commission aware that I did have a mistake in the staff report. The last sentence there said they are fully operational at this time and taxes are being submitted to the finance department. And that's all I have.
All right, someone here to speak for the applicant?
Yeah, I'm Ken Martin. Yeah, with Magnolia Road. Yeah, we're just requesting the approval to continue with our conditional use permit. We've been in that location for 2 years. We made one little minor change with making the office a little more secure, but other than that, the space has stayed the same since the beginning, and we foresee it staying that way into the future.
So let's talk about the trash.
Yeah, well, we're right in between these guys, right? So we've got.
What sort of dumpster do you have?
Well, we've got it's got a bar lock across it, but it's, I think it's just a plastic lid. I made a note to go check that on the way out. I don't deal with that dumpster every day, so I'm not really that familiar with it. But I think it's just got the plastic lid on the top.
So you're the owner and you don't deal with it?
Well, so my son comes down here. He left on a vacation this morning, so Magnolia Road is myself and my son on, we each own 50% of the business. So Dan is usually the one that's down here.
So who deals with it in your organization?
Well, it was not Dan, it's our store managers, Anthony and Andy, are the folks that are, they're in charge when we're not there.
So can we count on you to look into this and?
Certainly, yeah, certainly.
And partner with some of these other?
I think the group of us along there deal with those trash cans. They're all lined up next to each other, in the back alley, and I think it's kind of a group effort already. But if there's anything we can do to make those more.
Are you familiar with this that we got tonight? The trash container that they
I have not
improved?
seen that picture now.
There's no plastic lids, I guarantee you that. We're trying to keep our town clean.
Of course.
And you guys are part of the town.
Yeah. No, I think
And
we share in that objective.
when somebody says to me, and I'm sitting up here, then I'm not in charge of that, and you're the owner?
Oh, no, I don't, no,
That
don't.
makes me think that.
Yeah, don't take that the wrong way. I can't describe our trash can to you. I don't know that I've ever studied it, that closely. That's what I was trying to say.
Chairman, I would like to comment that when I was there and did the inspection, the employees there told me they were having a trash problem, so they keep the trash within the store until the day of pickup, and then they take it out, because they wanted to prevent.
That still doesn't
getting
negate
any
the
trash.
problem that we're having.
No, and I just wanted to make you aware that they are trying to deal with the problem of trash.
I don't have any more questions, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak for or against the applicant?
All right.
Ben DeLange again. Is this loud enough, sir?
Spell your last name.
DeLange. It's DeLange. It's Belgian, so we're pretty sad there. Since we lost the World Cup. Semi-final. Again, I just want to say in support that Magnolia has been an excellent tenant. Dan is a very responsible owner-operator, as well as the managers.
What's your role in this?
I'm the attorney for the building owner, so from 409 to 419, Trinidad Holdings, LLC.
So you can talk to the building owner about trash?
I can, yes. And I will. And this is the first I've heard of it, to be honest. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to get the 5 tenants together and come up with a plan that makes sense fiscally for everyone. And then also just, it sounds like the Green Solution has a pretty good head start on it. And I think if we can piggyback onto that plan, that sounds like something that's a kind of a no-brainer. If the Planning Commission thinks that is a good solution, why wouldn't we?
I think this is a good start.
A good start. Yeah, exactly. Put pressure on the company you guys use on the trash and make sure that they give a metal lid.
Right. And we control the leases, and we can put a maintenance a lease.
That would be a good idea.
Yes, I agree. Absolutely. So we'll take that back to the owner.
Good.
Something that eliminates plastic.
That too.
Because you could have as many bars as you want on a plastic lid. If they're breaking a chain or they're breaking a lock, they'll cut a plastic lid.
You can get through a plastic lid, no problem. Right. And again, we're going to support.
What about, I don't suppose your group could put cameras out there?
There are
They're all
cameras.
there.
They're out there?
Yes.
I got the dumpsters covered from my.
Oh, okay.
By law, they're covered.
Oh, great.
It's part of their security plan.
It should be on all aspects of the building.
Great, well, thank you very much.
Yes.
Anyone else to speak for or against the applicant? Okay. This time we'll close the hearing. I think they're going to make an effort to try and get that issue resolved, and I'm sure next year we won't be talking about this. I'm hoping for.
Hope.
Talk about something else. Can I call for a motion, or is there anything else we want to discuss?
Staff, do you have anything?
No.
I'll make a motion that we approve the CUP for Magnolia Road, 413 Commercial, for 2015 RMS 11C, retail marijuana sales.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Hooker,
Yes.
Leone,
Yes.
Monterana,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Savick.
Yes. I'd like to open the hearing for Trinidad Holdings Company, LLC, number 2015 RMS-11D, review of conditional use permit for 417 North Commercial Street, Trinidad, Colorado. City staff.
Thank you, Chairman. Shelley Sheridan received approval of the retail marijuana store conditional use permit on July 14th, 2015 for the location of 417 North Commercial Street. Transfer of this conditional use permit to PC Holdings, Inc. was acknowledged by the Commission on November 14th, 2017 to PC Holdings, Inc. as operator. The location is fully operational as a retail marijuana store. The city staff performed site inspections for the location, and their findings are as follows. The floor plans provided by the operator upon inspection are mostly consistent with the layout of the original plans submitted at the time of CUP approval. There is an additional wall between the waiting room and the sales room. Security cameras are in place and operational. Security monitors and equipment are secured within a locked cabinet in the office. The product is secured in locked display cases and in a safe overnight. The product refuse is destroyed per MED requirements and stored within the building until pickup day, at which time it is handed to the driver for disposal. Air filtration system is installed and operating, and the signage has been approved through the city's sign permitting process. And that's all I had.
Thank you. Is there someone to speak for the applicant?
Good evening, my name is Ryan Shaw. I'm the only owner of Kansas City, and the buck stops with me, and we can just cut to the chase. And if I don't have a steel bar when I get home, I'm going to work on it as soon as I can with my manager. So is there anything you guys want to talk about?
What's this, is this supplement related to this CUP?
No.
Trinidad Holding Company?
No.
No,
No.
this is Kansas City.
For
Do you want
5H.
Do you
PC
want your
Holdings.
filtration system? The filtering?
Yes, and actually, we also have a fairly good-sized grow, and we've used filtration systems for years, so ours is in very good shape. I mean, the usage inside of this
And you
facility.
document your filtration system when your filters are cleaned, or when you exchange them, or when you put new ones in? Is that monitored?
We've been open for about 5 months, so the use on that I expect at least over a year, could be even 2 to 3 years in this environment. But in our review, when we do this, we'll probably be getting into that in the next couple weeks here. So my expectation is a biannual review on that. But so far, it looks extremely clean to me.
But you're not an actual inspector of the system.
That's true, and that's why we would definitely, go through our inspections, and if there's any other, recommendations we need.
Is there not a schedule of inspections on your system?
I can certainly check that. I thought that we were notified about this inspection. We did a pre-check for ourselves before this inspection. I was under the impression this is an annual inspection as well. So that was the enforced inspection. Besides that, we have a whole bunch of other re-reviews that we plan on doing around the 6-month mark. Like I mentioned, we're fairly brand new, so that's why I haven't gone through an actual inspection besides pre-inspection for this inspection.
Can I ask a question of Sam related to this?
That's up to Sam.
When a filtration system is sold, installed, and operating, does it not come with a maintenance schedule?
different environments carry, you know, there's not gonna be anything specific. You know, it would be, you know, there's gonna be manufacturers' recommendations. And so that's just like in a code book, you know, they're gonna shoot you over here to a manufacturer's recommendation. There's not gonna be anything that says it's gonna last this long or this long, because it depends on the environment. In a grow facility, you're under a lot more pollens in the air, so that filter might plug up faster than being in a dispensary.
So then does Dan Reed not set up a inspection schedule for these filtration systems?
Each system would have its own specific specifications, and every year annually when the city staff, including the commercial building inspector, goes in to inspect it, part of their inspection would be to look and see if the equipment's been maintained properly.
But if he's just making this up about, well, I think it'll last a year, then there's no maintenance schedule to approve or disapprove.
Once they received their certificate of occupancy, then we'd signed off on the installation of their system. When the building official toured for this inspection, for this report, when they toured it, they reported back to us it was in working order. I can't speak to where that will be in the next year. Only every year when we schedule our inspection, part of the building official is to go in and look at that piece of equipment and A, verify that the filters have been changed, B, verify that the equipment is operating correctly. This inspection happened a few months after they had gotten started, so there wasn't a lot of detail other than it was operating as according to specifications.
And so the building inspector, he is qualified to do this?
Yes,
He went to school to
verify
do it?
whether or not the equipment's operating and installed correctly, yes.
So he can determine if the filters are plugged or not?
He can determine whether the equipment's operating. He would ask the owner to provide a maintenance schedule. Some have provided that, and we've provided that to you. This particular location has been opened such a short time, they did not provide a maintenance schedule on there.
So you don't actually have a maintenance schedule?
To be honest with you, yeah, this is the first time that I've had a discussion about this. You know, there's definitely cut sheets that we can refer to as well. And, you know, I can look into this fairly easily. I think that there should be some definition inside of the cut sheets, and the filters are under $10 to change. I mean, it's not really that expensive. So if I do it annually, you know, it's not a big concern for me. But I'll just look at it more, and, you know, I can find some more information from cut sheets from there.
So I'm going to ask you a question. Maybe Mr. Cook can answer the question. Is each filtration system should depend on the size, right? There's different sizes, am I correct?
There's a formula that has to be done. It's that talks about, you know, it depends on, you know, if you're talking just about a dispensary. You know, what we're talking right now, we're talking about a dispensary, correct?
Correct.
So the dispensary formula is different because we're talking about the amount of people that's going to be in there, the square footage. So there's a lot, you know, a few things that can kind of come into play to size that fan.
Okay.
And usually a lot of those, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
So usually, just so you guys know, a lot of those carbon filters or filtration device is a carbon filter that now has another, what would you call the outer sleeve of that, Dave?
A pre-filter, it's just a pre-filter media, and then you take that off, but
It's like a car filter.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, so you got
you
one.
get the heavy pollens, and then you got the carbon that actually killed the odor.
And really what it does is it was designed by mechanical engineers. Dan, we'd actually checked the specs with us before. We did not have an adequate, unit as a suggestion. They told us to upgrade it. That was all fitted. So to comment on Dan Reed's competency, I would say that he did have some pretty in-depth understanding of what would be required based on square footage and cubic square feet of air.
That UL listings, because they have to provide all that stuff.
Chairman, I would like to point out that the building inspector, when he's doing the inspections during these reviews, he's making sure that everybody understands they have to keep record of their maintenance. Some of them are probably maintaining the system, but weren't really keeping records. So he's making sure they understand they have to keep a log.
So you understand
And
now.
we'll be asking for that.
So everyone needs to understand that they need to have a maintenance log.
Well,
Some
is
kind of-
biannually adequate for you guys? I mean, would you like me to do it more than that?
It's not up to us.
It's not up to us.
I would think,
Well, I
you
will.
either check with the manufacturer or with Dan Weed.
Well, what I would say is this, though, is that this is the only municipality, I have marijuana license in different municipalities as well. This is the only one that has stipulations about the air filters. So those air filters, that system, and like I said, we proposed one, they came back and said that was inadequate, you need this one. And in that, I think that there were, and we could look back, but there were predetermined specifications for that, so.
I think all we're suggesting is that you develop a maintenance schedule and post it and
I think the
keep
big,
to it, that's all.
Yep.
yeah, the biggest thing, you know, is your carbon filter has a life on it. You know, it's going to be either a 3-month, probably 6-month life, is what I would guess on your carbon filters.
It's going to depend on how much pollen and how much filtering you're doing. Like if you're in a sandstorm, your truck is going to have to be changed daily.
Yep, your oil.
Okay.
But again, we're in a clean environment, and you know, I would go to your filter manufacturer when you have your inspection and say, hey, look, it says here I got 6 months life, so I did it twice this year.
And just
that.
maintain a maintenance log.
Schedule.
Yeah.
Got it. So that it can be verified.
Got it.
Yeah, just to cover you, know, cheap insurance.
Got it.
I don't really have any other.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
So does everyone to speak for or against the applicant?
Oh, boy.
So that I don't leave anyone out. No, they've been a great tenant as well, and of course we do support the renewal of the CUP. And I will state for our new lease, I just came on to this about a month ago. Our new lease for new tenants and stuff like that, we actually do have a requirement that the tenants keep a maintenance schedule. I'm not 100% sure if that currently includes the air filtration system itself, but I will make sure that it does going forward. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, do not a lot of these filtration systems kind of have that check box on it on the metal plate where you just, you know, May 17th,
exactly. You
check
tag
mark
it or you
filtration.
date it and all
Okay.
that. Yep.
Okay. So, we support the
You're
renewal.
earning your money today.
Thank you.
Awesome.
This time I'm going to go ahead and close the hearing. Well, I think, you know, it's part again of the trash issue in the back, but I think we got that handled.
Yeah, I think it looks like it, yeah.
Yep. Is there anything else you guys want to discuss about it? I'm going to have to look up those carbon filters myself and find out the date. I'll look it up.
It seems to be, it depends on the system and the square footage for the most part.
Maybe the size of the filter might play a role in that.
Yeah, it will. Yeah,
Would it?
your filter. Okay. Well, at this time, can I call a motion? Anyone else?
So how do I do this? Motion
So,
to approve?
you make a motion to approve and then you read out.
Right here, the
Review of the conditions.
Okay. So I make a motion to approve review of conditional use permit at 417 North Commercial Street, Trinidad, Colorado 81082. Number 2015-RMS-11D retail marijuana store.
Nice.
Good job.
Good job.
Second.
Roll call.
Coker,
Yes.
Leone,
Yes.
Materano,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Tatman.
Yes. This time I'd like to open up Tricana LLC number 2015 RMS 11B Review of conditional use permit for 411 North Commercial Street, Trinidad, Colorado.
Chairman, first of all, I'd like to ask if there's a representative, an owner present for this hearing. Then I'd ask if we could continue it to next month, and I will.
Did we get in touch with them, or what was
Yes,
our?
We did the inspection, and also, I can't explain why there's no one here to
Because I
represent them.
personally had a couple issues with this applicant already. So were they were aware of being here, right? That they had to be here?
We'd like an opportunity to find out why they weren't here, if that's possible.
Maybe the attorney has an idea.
So in other words,
I just don't understand why I'll let you speak first.
I can't speak, if that says enough words. We're in a dispute with them, the owner and the tenant.
Okay.
And I can't really go into details. I mean, it's called a record generally. So.
Thank you.
If we come up here, staff, we come up here and spend our time, they've been notified, and they don't show up?
I want to push this go forward, in my opinion.
I do too.
What?
I think we should go through with this. Revoke it or whatever we need to. I feel like, again, we're wasting our time. I'm tired. If it was my business and I was notified of this,
I would strongly urge the commission not to hold a hearing without an owner of the conditional use permit representative. And I just remind you that the revocation of this, because of the moratorium, would be taking away the ability for this to continue. As of this afternoon, they were open for business. We'd like to at least have a conversation with the owner and find out why they weren't here. Obviously, it's your decision. Staff's strong recommendation would be that we don't hold a public hearing, similar to the way we recommended last month, you not hold a hearing on decimals until the owners could be brought forward.
So this would continue until September?
August.
Yeah.
Or September.
I would not push it past a month. Why go 2 months?
August would be, we're going to talk about what date we'd have the meeting in August, so I think continuing to the specified date in August would be fine.
And we would, because it would affect the interest of the owner of the building, we would prefer a continuance as well.
If it's revoked, then
Exactly.
they lose the property right.
It affects us when we're not in a when we wouldn't have an opportunity to
straighten it out.
To straighten it out. That's right.
It would no longer tomorrow be in business.
Right, and that would affect the tenants on either side, et cetera, et cetera. So it'd be a pretty heavy, decision to make if they weren't able to be represented in whatever capacity they choose to be represented. So I would support a continuance.
I just hesitate. I'm not urging you to reapprove it. I just hesitate to have you act without the full picture in front of you.
Well, I think he's the only one advocating for that.
Probably. No. You too. I know.
But obviously,
obviously,
this is the commission's decision.
Well, you guys know my feelings about it, but I think I'll push it off one more month. But they're already under my radar. That's all I got to say about it. After reading that application.
So if you, okay.
I should just sit there. I'd love to hear your comments prior to the decision whether or not to continue.
Keep in mind, if the chairman makes testimony, you may preclude yourself from acting on this in the future.
Yes, I'll wait.
That would be my second recommendation.
All right, so we haven't closed this yet.
Alright, so I guess I'll close it and we'll table it to this August. Do we have a date for that August meeting?
We're recommending the 4th Tuesday, Chairman, but we haven't had a chance to have that discussion rather than the 2nd Tuesday, if that is applicable.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know what your schedule is, Chairman, and we wanted to poll you before we set it for the 28th of August.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion that we continue this to a date.
To the August meeting.
To some date set in the future for August?
Yes.
All right, for Tricana LLC 2015 RMS 11P Retail Marijuana Store, a continuation.
A second?
Roll call?
Coker,
Yes.
Leone,
Yes.
Martorano,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Babbitt.
Yes. I'd like to open up Trinidad Retail A01 LLC, number 2015 RMS-11E, the review of a conditional use permit for 419 North Commercial Street in Trinidad, Colorado, 81082. Steph, or did we just?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I would like to also ask if there's a representative for this company present, Mr. Chris Elkins, or the owner of
Yes,
the
Chris is
business?
here. They're here.
Okay,
Hello.
I'm sorry. We haven't met, so I just wanted to make sure. Okay, his conditional use permit. Ms. Sheridan received approval of this retail marijuana store conditional use permit on July 14th of 2015 for the location of 419 North Commercial Street. Staff inspected the location and found that there's currently no business in operation at this time. The owners have provided some information that I put at your places there, and it's marked agenda item 5J. And they supplied this information subsequent to the documents I uploaded to your computer drive. So that's all the information I had in regard to this operation.
So, just to be clear, this CUP was granted in 2015, is that right?
Yes.
July 14th of 2015, they received approval.
Has it ever been
Transferred? No.
Has it ever been operational?
Not that we know of. No.
It's never been transferred.
And so what are we asking for at this point?
I believe the owner of the conditional use permit should be allowed to make statements, and you can question them and see where you feel they're at.
The applicant, please step forward.
Good evening.
Your names, please?
Chris Elkins and Ben DeLonge.
So tell us the situation here. It's my understanding that if a CUP isn't acted on within a year, it goes away.
So, so this unit was originally leased October 24th, 2016. Lease negotiations fell apart on that unit. After that point, the adjoining unit went under contract but was never operational. And the goal of that tenant, who never took possession, was to have both spaces, have the adjoining space as well. Yes, ma'am.
So you're still, are you talking about 419 as well as
and 417 as well, prior to the current tenant, 417. That resulted in what is still ongoing litigation, and prior counsel to Trinidad Holdings advised them not to lease the space while it was under pending litigation, in case the court ordered the enforcement or the specific performance of the lease itself, because then they would be fending off two tenants at the same time. At this point, thankfully, we've been able to clear the space, and we have a letter of intent. I don't know, I'm not sure what packet was given, Ms. Clark.
Is this the one about leasing the?
419.
419, yes. Is that March 19th dated?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
So you have that. And as I was driving up here from Denver, we got an affidavit from Maggie's Farm LLC, which is a large operator. And can I approach, or who would I give this to?
I would like one copy.
I have 3.
One for Georgia. We'll pass the other two.
So the heading on is that what this is?
Updated information.
This applied.
So I got this around 4 o'clock today. We've been in active lease negotiations with Maggie's Farm LLC, who operates, I believe, 7 other operations here, mostly in southern Colorado. They also, I noticed, sponsored a large strip of the highway on the way down. And we think we are, we're on the third version of the lease. We think that we will be able to finalize this lease within a month, probably less, probably 2 weeks. We tried to get it done before today, but considering it's a 5-year lease, we didn't want to cut off our nose to spite our face and rush into that arrangement. We've come to all the material terms are covered. Lease rate, lease time, and my understanding, having done some due diligence on Maggie's Farm, is that they are a very reputable, well-known, and very responsible operator who have been trying to enter Trinidad, and Trinidad has actually courted them in the past to be here. I wasn't involved in that.
Just for clarification, is it your testimony that Maggie's Farm is who you're in negotiations with for 419 specifically?
That's correct, 419
okay.
specifically.
Well, just wanted to make sure the affidavit didn't mention the specific location.
Oh, it did not.
That's okay, it's on the record.
Okay. And beyond that, I believe we got the building permit inspection record pulled, was it yesterday? And that should be in front of council as well. And that's for the air filtration system, which was the only outstanding issue other than being in use. And so the unit is off the market. There's no more soliciting of tenants. We're not shopping it around. This is who we want, and they want the space.
Has any work at all been done in 419?
Yeah, we had a prior applicant move forward in that space, as you mentioned, in 2016.
That's right.
And they had started some work in the space, but they ultimately failed the process and have moved away. So there had been some work done.
What work exactly?
I think they put up a wall. They did some paint.
So let me ask staff, please. If this CUP was issued in 2015,
yes,
and is there not? Explain why then this CUP is even in existence if no work, significant progress has been done on the CUP.
As Ms. Clark gave instruction at the beginning of the meeting, when a property owner has remained in control of the property, we have not brought forward a conditional use permit for expiration. The original owner who received the CUP has retained property rights ownership to the property, and we have not thus far brought forward CUPs for expiration of those that contain property rights. So many of those that you're reviewing were established in 2015, and we're reviewing them now in 2018. We have thus far not expired anyone who has maintained a property right with the intention of development. We feel like in 2018 it's time to bring it forward. We met with Chairman in January. He expressed a desire to see every single CUP in front of you. So now, regardless of whether they've maintained property ownership or not, we're bringing everyone forward in a very methodical way in the month that they were originally approved. So that's why you're seeing this now. The owner was originally given 5 CUPs. You may remember it was the infamous marijuana mall discussion.
Yeah.
409, 411, 413, 417, and 419. They have previously transferred 409, 411, 413, 417, but not as yet transferred 419. This is, I believe, their testimony saying they're negotiating a lease. Our assumption would be once the lease is signed, the next thing you will see is a transfer letter of 419 to this person, the affidavit, Maggie's Farm. So the options that you have obviously are to expire because it's not established, to revoke because the conditions aren't there, although staff would say we've not revoked or expired anyone that maintains a property interest. The third option would be to approve it conditionally for a certain number of months to see if they can implement this. So you have all three options, and all three are your options to take. Our role is to just advise you that thus far we've not expired anything where someone has maintained a property interest.
Sorry. I'd like to ask staff one question.
Sure.
Define establishment for me.
That's the problem and the reason staff hasn't brought forward. Does established mean they've got a license? Does established mean they've pulled a building permit? Does established mean that they've got a lease and transferred it to an operator? Or does established mean it's paying taxes?
So what are we
Because
supposed to
the
think of
city council has not defined established in the code, staff's conservative approach has been to say to the commission, we will bring forward those that don't have a property interest anymore, and you have a couple of them here, and we'll recommend expiration there, because if they don't maintain a property interest, we know it will never be implemented by them, therefore the CUP should be expired. So, because we can't, and our legal staff has reviewed this, it's really difficult in a court of law to define what established means in the code when no guidance has been given to planning and zoning.
So is what you're saying, do we need an ordinance? Does the city need to adopt an ordinance for establishment?
So you could for anything going forward, Commissioner Leone, but it would give you no guidance for any that were issued under this current code. So that established question isn't going to solve this particular issue. As you know from serving on the commission for many years, the planning commission is generally where we figure out how things are working well and how things aren't working as well. One of the reasons that established hasn't been defined is because with the moratorium that council has placed, you will see no new applicants for retail marijuana stores. Now revoke is certainly a possibility. That means the conditions haven't been met. Revoke also gives the applicant the ability to appeal to city council that decision. Expire, as I said, is certainly within your rights as commissioners. You have to come up with what you define as established, and then you have to apply that equitably across everyone.
You know, I heard this said 2 or 3 times tonight by staff. We have never done. We have never done. We
That's
have never
correct.
done. Maybe it's about time we do.
You could.
Because I see no reason for this particular one. I see no reason for that. That's a statement I made.
And we would suggest that established would mean off the market, ready to be operated. We have the building permit inspection record. We have a lease that's going to be signed. We would ask for whatever the planning commission thinks is a reasonable amount of time to finalize a lease, at which point, the transfer and the city application would go forward. If it were to be revoked, we would appeal to the city council, and that would actually end up taking longer, take more resources, and probably, it would extend the process of getting a tax-paying tenant into the space. So we would ask for a conditional approval with, 60 days or whatever the commission thinks is reasonable to get a lease in place and the applications put forward. And as the affidavit states, Maggie's Farm has been through this process both at the state, local, etc. level many times. We foresee no barriers to their approval.
I don't have any more questions. Anybody else?
No. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone to speak for or against this applicant? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. I personally feel in this situation that we should approve it with a time frame that they come back, and I think 60, 90 days is plenty of time to get it.
In my opinion, 60 or 90 days is too much time. That's my opinion. It's been there for how many years?
Too many.
Too many years.
Well, I'm going to make a motion that we renew the conditional use permit at 419 Commercial, 2015 RMS-11E Retail Marijuana Store for a period of 60 days while the issues are resolved and then brought back before us.
Second. Roll call?
Coker?
Yep.
Leone?
No.
Martorano?
No.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Radlick?
Yes.
60 days. Can you specify then, so 60 days they'll come back, they'll update you on their progress, and we'll see where they are.
And at that time,
Thanks.
we'll see what
The
happens.
lease is in place, everything.
Okay, we'll see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
60 days. That's September.
I'd like to open up Trinidad Retail A01 LLC 2015 RMS-13, the review of conditional use permit for 123 West Cedar Street, Trinidad, Colorado, 81082. City staff?
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Sheridan received approval of this conditional use permit for retail marijuana store on July 14, 2015 for the location of 123 Cedar Street, Trinidad, Colorado. Ms. Sheridan no longer has site control of this location. The staff's recommendation, council, would be to expire this conditional use permit.
Okay. We still need to go through the whole process, though, bring up the applicant and all that, correct?
No, you can move to close the hearing. They don't have site control, so.
Okay. All right. At this time, I'm going to close this hearing. And can I entertain a motion to expire?
I'll make the motion that we expire the conditional use permit for Trinidad Retail at 123 West Cedar Street, number 2015 RMS-13.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Coker?
Yes.
Leone?
Yes.
Martorano?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Radlick?
Yes. I'd like to open up the hearing for Trinidad Retail A01 LLC number 2015 RMS-10 review of conditional use permit for 516 Elm Street.
Chairman, I'm sorry, we need to do a resolution to
Oh, for the
expire
letter?
the previous
Okay.
one. If you could give us
Yeah,
just
sorry
10
about that.
minutes.
Thank you.
Time out.
I'd like to thank you guys.
Thank you.
We'll see you next month.
Yeah. Next time you come, you better bring a pair of roller skates.
Fair enough.
Forgot what I wrote down.
First page.
Yeah.
Agnes Complex.
16 Elm.
That's in Lackey's place.
That's what?
16, the old depot.
The old depot.
Yeah.
Really?
May I ask you to read this way? See how that works?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, God. City of Trinidad Planning, Zoning and Variance Commission Resolution number 18. A resolution recognizing the expiration of conditional use permit 2015 RMS-13, approved by the City of Trinidad Planning and Zoning Variance Commission July 14th, 2015, for operation of a retail marijuana store located at 123 Cedar Street. Whereas the state of Colorado, through citizen initiative in the general election, legalized the sale of marijuana, and whereas the Trinidad City Council, pursuant to the Colorado Revised Statutes, CRS 1243-4101, has established Chapter 14, Article 12 of the City of Trinidad Code of Ordinances to regulate the marijuana trade in the City of Trinidad. And whereas the City of Trinidad requires that any marijuana operation secure a conditional use permit prior to receiving a local license, and whereas the Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission, prior to issuing a conditional use permit, considers the safety of the operation and mitigation of any negative influences to the neighborhood, and whereas the City of Trinidad Code of Ordinances requires that the Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission review any approved conditional use permits not less than once per year to ensure that the conditions associated with the conditional use permit continue to be met in the operation of the businesses. And whereas each annual review of conditional use permits must be done in a public hearing, which has been noticed in a newspaper of general circulation of at least 10 days prior to the hearing, and written notice of the hearing must be sent to the permittee at least 30 days prior to the public hearing, and whereas the end of the public hearing or within not more than 30 days, the Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission shall render its decision to reapprove or revoke the conditional use permit either orally or in writing, and whereas any conditional use permit not established within 1 year of its approval shall expire. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission of the City of Trinidad that the conditional use permit 2015 RMS-13 issued on July 14th, 2015 to Shelley Sheridan for the establishment of a retail marijuana store have both been deemed expired, introduced, read, and adopted on this 10th day of July 2018.
Thank you.
I don't think we should disapprove any more CDP. reading that is painful.
All right. At this point, I could go ahead and open up Trinidad Retail A01 LLC 2015 RMS-10 review conditional use permit for 516 Elm Street, Trinidad, Colorado.
Trinidad Retail.
At this point, may I entertain a motion to expire?
I'll make a motion to expire.
I'll second.
Chairman, for the record, could I just make the statements here about the inspection? So Ms. Sheridan received approval of the retail marijuana store on July 14th, 2015 for the location of 516 Elm Street, Trinidad, Colorado. And Ms. Sheridan no longer has site control of this location.
Thank you.
So again, staff's recommendation would be to expire the conditional use permit.
You want to go ahead and say it again, son?
Let's see if Sam can read it.
I'll make a motion to expire the conditional use permit at 516 Elm Street, Trinidad, Colorado. number 2015, RMS-10 retail marijuana store.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Coker?
Yes.
Leone?
Yes.
Monterano?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Babbitt?
Yes. Sam? Sir, keep going.
City of Trinidad Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission, Resolution number 19. A resolution recognizing the expiration of conditional use permit number 2015-RMS-10, approved by the City of Trinidad Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission on July 14, 2015, for operation of an retail marijuana store located at 516 Elm Street. Whereas the state of Colorado, through citizen initiative and in the general election, legalized the sale of marijuana, and whereas the Trinidad City Council, pursuant to the Colorado Revised Statute CRS 12-43.4-101, has established Chapter 14, Article 12 of the City of Trinidad Codes Ordinance and regulate the marijuana trade in the City of Trinidad. And whereas the City of Trinidad requires that any marijuana operation secure a conditional use permit prior to receiving a local license. And whereas the Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission, prior to issuing a conditional use permit, considers the safety of the operation and mitigation of any negative influence to the neighborhood. And whereas the City of Trinidad Code of Ordinances requires that Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission review and approve conditional use permits not less than once per year to ensure the conditions associated with the conditional use permit can continue to be met in the operation of the business. And whereas each annual review of conditional use permit must be done in public hearing, which has been noticed in a newspaper of general circulation at least 10 days prior to the hearing, and written notice of the hearing must be sent to the permittee at least 30 days prior to the public hearing. And whereas at the end of the public hearing or within not more than 30 days, the Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission shall render its decision to reapprove or revoke the conditional use permit, either orally or in writing. And whereas any conditional use permit not established within 1 year of its approval shall expire. Now therefore, be it resolved by Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission of the City of Trinidad that the conditional use permit number 2015-RMS-10 issued on July 14, 2015 to Shelley, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Shelley Sheridan.
What is it, sorry?
Shelley Sheridan.
Sheridan, okay, sorry. For the establishment of a retail marijuana store has been deemed expired. Introduced, read, and adopted this day, or this 10th day of July 2018.
Thanks. Alright, at this time I'd like to open up TP Main Street, number 2014, NMC, NMIPM, OPCO, RMCF, RMS, RPMF-12, the review of conditional use permit for the 821 East Main Street, Trinidad, Colorado, 81082. Staff comment, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Peters received approval of the medical marijuana center, the optional premise cultivation operation, and the medical marijuana infused product manufacturer conditional use permits on April 22nd of 2014. And the retail marijuana store, the retail product manufacturer facility, and the retail marijuana cultivation facility on December 9th of 2014 for the location of 821 East Main Street, Trinidad, Colorado. The location has a concrete slab installed for the building, but further improvements have not been completed. City staff performed site inspections of the location, and their findings are as follows. The building is not completed. In regard to licensing, the applications for licensure was officially withdrawn, and the business is non-operational. The owner of the property did submit some supplemental information that's also at your seat there. And that's all the information staff has.
Thank you. Did you guys have a chance to read the 5M?
Yeah.
Okay. This time I have the applicant come up.
Hi, my name is Tim Peters.
Well, I've read your letter, ma'am. Do you want to elaborate a little more or tell us a little bit more on kind of what's happening?
You know what, considering this property is in serious litigation right now, is there light at the end of the tunnel? Maybe, might be a train. But I can't really comment on the record and tell you what's going on. I can't tell you what's going to happen. I mean, I could say I know what would like to happen, but until judges' rulings and lawyer meetings and continuances and things like that, I have no control.
So
I'm just requesting 90 days, 120 days to update you when hopefully maybe some of this litigation is over.
But you're hoping to renew every one of your CUPs across the board?
Wayne, I cannot predict.
No,
but yes, a continuance on the meeting for everything.
For every one of your CUPs?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So has this been going on for the last 2 years though? You guys been back and forth
absolutely.
in courts and all that?
Absolutely. It's been tied up in court and it's totally out of my control. It's just crazy.
Okay.
But we might be close. I just can't comment on it. It's not appropriate.
You guys have any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Staff does have additional comments, Chairman. Due to the fact that Mr. Peters has a portion of the interest in this property, and there are others who have additional interest in the property, and it is in court proceedings, staff really would recommend that you continue this, or renew this for like a 90 to 120 day period. We can look at it at that time and see where it's at.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this applicant?
Good evening, Commissioners, staff.
Please state your name.
My name is Linda Thompson, and
Speak up, please.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
my name is Linda Thompson, and I just have three kind of short statements to make. One is, I do not believe Mr. Peters has the type of moral integrity deserving to hold a marijuana license. There is currently, as he has mentioned, a very extensive ongoing civil case working its way through our courts. That case number is 2016 CV 30028 regarding this matter. There has been a police report filed with the local police under Detective Larson, along with the notification and information that was given to the mayor, the past city manager, Mr. England, and I ask you to please, if you are considering doing this, renewing this, please research that information prior to granting this.
what's your interest in this?
I'm one of the litigants. I was the partner. I ask you, please, review the documents before you make a decision.
Can you give us those case numbers again, or I mean?
Absolutely, the case.
A little slower.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. 2016 CV.
CV?
B is in boy.
C in cat, B is in Victor.
Okay.
30028. And as Mr. Peters has aptly stated, I would love to get into it, but without counsel, that's just not very smart.
So I'm sure Tara would tell me if I'm out of line. What's your stake in renewing the CUPs or not?
I can't comment on it. I cannot comment on it. It is all part of the lawsuit. There are, Mr. Peters, as he has stated, is not the only owner, and he is not the majority owner. That's all I can state.
Thank you.
Did you get it all, Tim?
Absolutely. Would it be appropriate to ask the Development Services Director for a little guidance there?
I think I agree very strongly with what Ms. Clark stated. We met with the city attorney this morning, and the ownership is what's being decided in a court jurisdiction out of our hands. Until that is completed, our recommendation to the commission is that we renew the conditional use permits, I would say, for 180 days pending the litigation, and then we'll see where that ends, and then whomever owns the property we would deal with at that point in time. It's really difficult. How do you choose to renew or not renew when we aren't even sure if we have a clear owner in front of us? So I think definitely that's a conversation to have with an owner. I think we have to see who that conversation's going to be. It looks like there's two sides here. Maybe they have two. I don't want to presuppose their agenda. I just want to say that it's part of the lawsuit. It's an interest. I would say status quo. That's the city's legal advice at this point in time. Status quo until we know. And we would recommend 180 days.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close that hearing. Well, this is an interesting one. I kind of feel like we have to push it down 180 days too. I feel like 90 days won't be enough, even come close to.
Well, but I think we should follow the staff's recommendation.
And I think there's some true value here. And there was something that came up like this way back when, and we went ahead and issued it. You probably weren't on the board, but anyway, that's my thought.
Yeah, I think a lot to shake out before we can make a decision.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will make the motion then that we renew this CUPs for a limited term of 180 days for renewal at that, review at that point for 821, this would be TP Main Street, 821 East Main Street, number 2014 RMS, MMC, MMIPM, RPMF, RMCF, OPCO-12.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Coker?
Yes.
Leone?
Yes.
Moderano?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Bevan?
Yes.
So we'll see you both in January. Let's see where we are. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to open up Raptone Pass Holdings, but is there anyone here to represent them?
When someone can say something.
Is that just one that's going to expire, correct?
Yes. And,
Thanks, guys.
Chairman, Mr. Craig Clark, received approval of the conditional use permit for a retail marijuana store on July 14th of 2015, the location of 419 West Main Street, Trinidad, Colorado. And I had contact with Mr. Clark, and he has informed me he sold the property at this location and no longer intends to pursue the conditional use permits. So staff's recommendation would be to expire as well.
Yeah. Well, we close it and we're gonna make a motion, or have somebody make a motion to expire. Raton Pass Holdings.
I'll make a motion to expire Raton Pass Holdings.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Coker?
Yes.
Leone?
Yes.
Martorano?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Maverick?
Yes.
I think it's too late.
No.
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 If I read it.
Go ahead. I can read it.
Go ahead. I heard that.
City of Trinidad Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission, Resolution Number 20. A resolution recognizing the expiration of conditional use permit number 2015-RMS-15 approved by the City of Trinidad Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission on July 14, 2015 for operation of a retail marijuana store located at 419 West Main Street. Whereas the state of Colorado, through Citizens Initiative in the general election, legalized the sale of marijuana. And whereas the Trinidad City Council, pursuant to the Colorado Revised Statute CRS 12-43.4-101, has established Chapter 14, Article 12 of the City of Trinidad Code of Ordinances to regulate the marijuana trade in the City of Trinidad. And whereas the City of Trinidad requires that any marijuana operation secure a conditional use permit prior to receiving a local license, and whereas the Planning, Zoning, Variance Commission prior to issuing a conditional use permit considers the safety of the operation and mitigation of any negative influences to the neighborhood, and whereas the City of Trinidad Code of Ordinances requires that the Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission review any approved conditional use permits not less than once per year to ensure that the conditions associated with the conditional use permit continue to be met in the operation of the business. And whereas each annual review of the conditional use permit must be done in a public hearing which has been noticed in the newspaper of general circulation at least 10 days prior to the hearing, and written notice of the hearing must be sent to the permittee at least 30 days prior to the public hearing. And whereas at the end of the public hearing or within not more than 30 days, the Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission shall render its decision to reapprove or revoke the conditional use permit either orally or in writing. And whereas any conditional use permit not established within 1 year of its approval shall expire. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission of the City of Trinidad that the conditional use permit number 2015-RMS-15 issued on July 14, 2015 to Craig W. Clark for the establishment of the retail marijuana store have both been deemed expired. This has been introduced and read and adopted this 10th day of July 2018. At this moment, I'm going to open up High Sierra Naturals, number 2015 OPCO RMCF-16, a review of conditional use permit for 3613 Freedom Road, Trinidad, Colorado. Steph?
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. and Ms. Turner received approval of the optional premise cultivation operation and the retail marijuana cultivation facility on July 14th of 2015 for the location of 3613 Freedom Road, Trinidad, Colorado, 81082. City staff performed site inspection at the location, and their findings are as follows. The business is no longer in operation. It was operational for a period of time, but no one is at that location this time. So staff's recommendation to council would be that they revoke this conditional use permits.
You recommend revoke or expire?
Revoking because they were established.
Okay.
And
They were established and operational at the
Okay.
end of time. They had multiple MED violations as well as local violations. And they are no longer in operation. If you revoke these CUPs, then council can pull the licenses.
Okay. Well,
Was this out in
industrial park.
Industrial
the
park.
our industrial park or the near?
But yeah,
In fact, the
Tan
building
building.
has been now sold to someone else.
it's that tan kind of metal building out there.
Oh.
That big one?
It was a pretty big one over there, across from Allright and all those guys
Oh,
over there.
okay.
And,
Okay. Yeah. That's the old Norwest.
Walden and all
Old
that.
Norwest.
Yeah. At this time, I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to revoke 3613 Freedom Road, Trinidad, Colorado. The license number 2015-RMCF OPCO-16 retail marijuana cultivation facility and optional premise cultivation operation.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Coker,
Yes.
Bielny,
Yes.
Martorano,
Yes.
Pritchard, yes, Abbott.
Yes.
Done.
Lots of stuff for this one.
Tony? No. Okay, City of Trinidad Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission Resolution Number 21. A resolution recognizing the revocation of the conditional use permit number 2015 RMCF and OPCO-16 approved by the City of Trinidad Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission on July 14th, 2015 for the operation of a retail marijuana cultivation facility and optional premises cultivation at 3613 Freedom Road. Whereas the state of Colorado, through the Citizens Initiative in the general election, legalized the sale of marijuana. And whereas the city of Trinidad, pursuant to the Colorado Revised Statute CRS 12-43-4-101, has established Chapter 14, Article 12 of the City of Trinidad Code of Ordinance to regulate the marijuana trade in the city of Trinidad. And whereas the city of Trinidad requires that any additional operation secure a conditional use permit prior to receiving a local license. And whereas the Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission, prior to issuing a conditional use permit, considers the safety of the operation and the mitigation of any negative influences to the neighborhood. And whereas the City of Trinidad Code of Ordinance requires that the Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission review any approved conditional use permits not less than once per year to ensure that the conditions associated with the conditional use permit continue to be met in the operation of the business. And whereas each annual review of the conditional use permit must be done in a public hearing, which has been noticed in a newspaper of general circulation at least 10 days prior to the hearing, and written notice of the hearing must be sent to the permittee at least 30 days prior to the public hearing. And where at the end of the public hearing or within not more than 30 days, the Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission shall render its decision to reapprove, revoke the conditional use permits either orally or written. And whereas any conditional use permit not established within 1 year shall expire. Now therefore be resolved by the Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission of the City of Trinidad, the conditional use permit 2015 RMCF OPCO-16 issued on July 14, 2015 to Deborah Brandon Toner for the establishment of a retail cultivation facility and operation of premises operation facility has been revoked. Introduced and read and adopted the 10th day in July of 2018.
Thank you, Commissioner Leon. Close that hearing. Well, at this time, I guess reports. I really don't have anything.
Does the commission have any reports, Chairman, before mine?
I don't.
Okay, I want to thank the chairman. This was an extremely long meeting. I want to compliment you guys. We got through it. There was a lot of reviews. When you asked to take this on in January, I think we all knew it was gonna take us a while to get our hands around this, and the great news is that when we go back through this next year, it'll be much cleaner, and we'll have resolved a lot of these issues. Ms. Clark did an outstanding job this past month. She did all the inspections, she did all the staff reports, and I thought she did a great job in putting everything together for you.
I would like to say that a lot of the different departments, the finance department, the police, the building inspector, all those different departments contributed to this, so it was a citywide effort.
It made it easy for us, I'll tell you that.
So now that you've seen it 2 months in a row, are we all in agreement we've got a good system here?
I like the checklist, I like how it's
put
going
together.
through.
And I'll put Georgie in for a raise.
I would, yes, I'll write that down.
On the record now.
This is a tough thing we're walking through, whether to revoke, whether to expire, whether to approve. We don't on staff have a hard and fast advice for you. Established is a word that we have no idea how to define for you.
I don't either.
And I don't. Established, what does that mean? So yes, we could, and if you would like us to take it forward and have the conversation with council about defining it, the mayor has already made a public statement that they made a mistake when they did not define established. I think that they understand where we are. The Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission, part of our job is to figure out what's right and what's wrong with a lot of these ordinances. So I just want to thank you for hanging in there. 2 months down, 10 months to go, and we'll have everything cleaned up. We started with 92. You've expired quite a few. July is our busiest month. We won't have this length in August, September, and October that are coming up. August, we would like to move the meeting. August 14th is the date of the meeting, and we don't have staff support for that meeting due to vacations. So what is your pleasure for August that we do? We don't want to skip a month because we've got to keep expiring these.
To me, the 20th is too late for me
Okay.
that month.
Okay.
It's just, I mean, if we could maybe do it in the middle.
Do you want to do it then Commissioner Pritchard, can you flip that for us, please? I'm sorry, I didn't bring my phone up here. So if that week is out for us, then we could go to the next week, which is the week of the 20th. We could look at, that city council will be in chambers that night. That's the only problem. We could do a Monday or a Wednesday that week.
Let's do,
We couldn't do the 14th.
We don't have staff support for that meeting.
I'd rather
Vacations.
do the 22nd than that Wednesday the following week.
You'd rather do the 22nd, that Wednesday, the 22nd? What is everybody's, can you look at your calendars for Wednesday night, the 22nd, or does everyone know it's?
I'm all right on the 22nd.
Okay, so we'll do it the day after council on August 22nd. Okay, great. Okay, thank you for that. We did receive a verbal from Commissioner Jenny Garduno today that she was in need to resign from the commission. So we do not have that in writing yet. That isn't a real resignation until we have that. Obviously, we're saddened we had just gotten her up to speed and going. With that pending resignation, that leaves us 2 openings. So there's no one that can speak to the public about what it takes to be a planning, zoning, and variance commissioner more than those of you that sit in the seats. We have let city council members know we're going to need to fill some of these positions, but some of our best commissioners, and you're sitting here because someone encouraged you from the commission to put your application in. So it's not for the faint-hearted. This isn't commission light. This is commission heavy. So please put your thinking caps on. Let us know if you can think of anyone. The proper procedure would be to put a letter into Ms. Garrett's office, the city clerk's office, and then, of course, as you know, we'll be interviewing them here as Commissioner Coker went through a few months ago, and then recommending their seating on the commission. So it's hard when you have 5. It's a little easier with 7 to have some flexibility. So we want to see that happen. So water restrictions, everybody's aware that the city is on level 3 water restrictions right now. So this triggered a staff discussion over what we do about the 2 pending cultivation applications we've got. It's a fair question, I think. City Council, in discussing water restrictions, has discussed whether or not to limit marijuana operations. They have not been limited at this point. In talking with the city attorney is concerned that 2 have put their application in. We're expecting 1 to come forward in maybe in August, maybe in September. So what would you like a from Denver legal opinion on where water restrictions play in your decision?
I've given this some thought.
Okay.
I have too.
And I would like a real live hydrologist to give us a real assessment of our water situation, our supply situation, which we know leaks 40%, the short-term and long-term climate effects that we can expect, and what's our water commitment from here 5 years down the road to everybody on the pipeline. I want to see real, I don't want to hear it from our own engineering department. I want to hear it from real water experts about where we stand and how much water we can afford to give in the future.
When this all came about, the number one thing that was originally said is if we're ever low, it didn't say how low, it said if we're ever low on water, the marijuana cultivation facilities will be cut off. Now they're not cut off. So what the rule that we put down is not being abided by.
Well,
and it's not being pursued by the city.
But let's look at the golf course.
That was going to be my
is
thing.
watering how many thousands of gallons a day for what, 9 people to play golf? I think that needs to be looked at.
That's a city entity.
That was going to be my biggest.
Okay, so
that's a city entity.
Yeah, so I think that needs to be looked at as
They're the number 1 source of the water, period. So if we're going to cut off businesses that make money, we better start looking at the golf course.
That doesn't make
money.
It only drains the budget.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to refocus this on, we can take forward your request and I can get more clarification on where marijuana stands, but keep in mind that when you put an application in, when you buy property and you develop it according to the ordinances of the city and you put your application in, due process is owed. So I want to make it clear that where we stand right now, based on the legal advice that we requested on your behalf, is that the 2 applications coming up for cultivation can have the exact same approval with, in conditions of water austerity, you know that you may be limited. But the specific question we asked is, can the Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission deny or approve based on water restrictions as we have now? And the legal advice we got back was no.
So was the legal advice from Trinidad or from someplace else?
It was from Trinidad.
I think we need to get someplace else.
That was my question. Okay, so you would like the Denver opinion from Carmen Beery on what and how much role with the upcoming
Applicants.
I'm trying to look into the future and try and anticipate that may become part of the questioning, as it will on city council and licensing. In other words, if you got your CUP 2 years ago and you get your CUP today, based on the fact that the city's under water restrictions, does planning and zoning have the authority to possibly consider not approving a cultivation application based on water restrictions? Not that I'm saying you should, but would you have the authority to do that? Is that the question
Yes.
we want answered?
Yes.
Okay.
I also want my question answered, which is, how do we proceed looking at the climate situation that we have? The entire southern Colorado, northern New Mexico is under extreme drought conditions. why would we approve anything from here forward
That's
that
correct.
uses water?
That's correct.
At all,
Period.
period.
So,
right.
once again, we're back to that question of what is your authority? Do you have the authority to make that decision? And
Yes.
we'll get the
I kinda think we
answer.
do.
That's what I'm asking.
I'm-
Get the
Yeah,
answer
we'll
from
get the
Denver.
answer.
But the thing that I'm looking at is that when they got these applications, when they were approved, they
Yes.
already knew that they were on the last end of that.
Yes, and that every single license.
Every license knew that if the water was short, they were gonna be the first ones cut off.
But it's gotta be enforced, Tony.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. They already know that. I mean, it's not something we have to, I'll bet each one of them are waiting for us to cut them off.
I would not want to, I would agree with Dave. You can't cut off a money-making operation and leave a money pit sucking up water.
So I want to be real clear that this commission doesn't have the authority to decide whether or not they're cut off or not. I know we're talking theoretically and we're talking about, and I agree with you, everyone who's given a license is told that they may have that cut off. Where I want to focus our conversation is in the upcoming applications that we've got, given the lack of water and the restrictions we're under, where is your authority versus where is their due process? Where does that balance
Well,
out?
we can't answer that question.
Well,
That's what you
No,
said.
I'm going
Should've
to
get
get
the
you.
lawyer
to-
answer.
Yeah.
I'm going to get you a written legal opinion that will be in your packets for the next meeting on August 22nd, based on where that is, because, and then that's first, second. Okay, let's set that aside. Now, second, based on the fact that if you take away your quasi-judicial authority as a board, this board's responsibility is also to be the planning board, advisory board to council on matters of planning for the city's development. So, do you want to have a discussion with city council about water and development into the future? And if so, Chairman, do you want to start that with the meeting with the mayor? Do you
I
want to
think
stay out of this discussion with council?
Well,
and
at first
where
I
we
think I
are?
would like to find out, first off, on what we could do on our applicants.
Okay,
So
that's
then
the
so then I
authority
can talk to
question.
him about that, you know, and say, hey, we can't even, what teeth do we have if we can't stop them? You know what
Okay.
I mean, I'd like to get that figured out first, and then as far as, I just don't,
So there's applicants that are guaranteed due process because they're in the system, and then there are those applications that haven't been received yet. Are we to the point where we'll get you a legal opinion on those two that are in the system?
but maybe put a halt on everything.
That's where I'm not being very articulate, but I think you just took the words out of my mouth. Are you as a commission wanting to engage with council in that discussion about whether they're worried about this, where they want to go? Because we're just going to keep processing applications as they're coming
I
in the
personally
door.
feel we can't make that decision until we get what Wayne wants and
Okay.
get an actual scientist who could really tell us our water.
And legal.
And you know,
We need to understand what's practical too. Gosh.
Yep.
If we're in a drought, he's northern New Mexico, we're in a drought. And you're gonna approve something that,
Yeah, well, I think we should discuss some sort of moratorium on anything
no.
that's not in the system, that unless they can provide us with I don't know, a water report about the use, how it relates to our.
I can't recommend to the mayor to shut down the golf course if I don't have the report. I want to shut it down, but I'm just
So
saying.
what we can do is go to the city manager and say that the planning commission has requested a hydrologist assessment of our water supply, our situation, and the climate effects we can expect for the region.
And there is no
Now,
plan,
there
right?
is no budget to hire that person to do that in our budget. But we can go and we can request that of the utility department, and we can request that they bring forward the information they're working off of in that area. So I just want to make it clear that we can certainly make that request, and I agree that to have a reasonable and educated discussion, you have to have that information. I just don't know that that information is readily available.
For instance, who's in the pipeline for La Puerta right now, and what are their water demands?
So once again, let's go outside the marijuana world. Once again, we've got the development world, which we're responsible for planning for the development of. We've got La Puerta, we've got potential Cougar Canyon activity, we've got potential annexation activity. Add to that 2 cultivation operations coming forward, plus a council that's motivated for economic development. And the first thing that you do when you bring economic development in is you look at what your resources are: power, water, gas, what your availability is. So I guess what I'm kind of trying to get a sense from you when I leave here tonight and I go to the city manager, I go to the mayor, do you want to go status quo with what we're doing now, continue processing applications as they come in and see where city council goes? Do you want to start having discussions about the development potential of the city and what the resources are that are available?
Well, first answer my question. What is in the pipeline right now with La Puerta or anybody else that we cannot rule on?
I don't know that I can answer that question in completion. I can say there's a 110-room hotel in the pipeline. There are many other things in the pipeline. I can certainly request that they come forward from a planning standpoint, not as an applicant standpoint, and start talking to you about what's in the pipeline. I can ask that they put together some sort of written report. I know they're going to council next Tuesday night to start talking about what the La Puerta development is planning to bring, what it's planning to do.
Okay, are they going to come before us or not?
They would obviously come before you when their application's ready, but in theory, they don't bring theoretical to you. They bring actual engineering reports once
So
they're
they can bring us an actual water use current and down the road and how it affects our current and down the road water availability.
When they are ready to process their application, you as a commissioner and you as a commission can, yes, see that information. And if they don't bring it forward, then you can request that they do. But until they're ready to process an application for land use, it's not appropriate for the commission to request that of them until they're ready to process an application.
How does a hotel's water use fit into a stage 3 water restriction?
I can't
That's
answer.
the whole thing. I think it's going to come right back down to what you were asking at the very beginning.
Without information.
Without that information, there's no way anybody can make that decision.
So I would like to personally just keep it the way it's going until we get that information.
Okay.
I would like to figure out how much water we are losing out of that line if it is 40%. And if it is 40%, is there any plans starting to replace it?
Let me tell you something.
I mean,
there's 9,000 gallons a day on Santa Fe Trail for 10 years. It's 22 feet deep and nobody can get down that deep and they don't know when they're going to fix it. Because they have to cut people off. It ain't just a job for a day.
Yeah,
well,
temporary water climb in.
I'm sure they have a meter up there at the filtration plant. And I'm sure they have meters down here. And they know how much water is getting on.
Oh yeah, they know it's 40%. They've already calculated that.
So I think that we need, if they're building a hotel, they're going to know their water use every single minute of the day. I think we need to know that, and everything else that is being proposed, we need a water use assessment and how it affects our future.
And to me, you could build a 1,000-room hotel, and again, it's not going to compare to the water usage of the golf course. And that's the problem. It's that, what was it? They use, what, 55–60% of the city's water?
I'm sorry, I don't have the statistic in front of me. It was
half
significant.
of the water?
It was significant.
Yeah, half of the water.
I don't have the statistic in front of me, but it was significant.
Well,
Okay.
I'm gonna water my oak tree.
So it sounds like where we are is the most immediate thing is we need some sort of legal opinion in writing that gives you guidance on applications that are already in the pipeline.
Other than the city of Trinidad's leaving.
We need to report back to the city manager's office and say that until we can get more information on where the real supply situation is, we find it difficult to continue to process applications for consideration.
That's very
to
good.
Commissioner Moderato's point. Those are the two things that I took out of this discussion.
Yeah.
Okay?
And I don't think this is gonna last forever.
I hope
Let's
not.
hope.
I do. No way. Yeah.
No.
Okay, let's say it lasts 10 years.
No, it ain't gonna
Oh,
last.
it ain't gonna happen.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus Christ. It ain't gonna last.
The one back in 2000, I mean, it only lasted that 1 year.
Yeah.
Well, we're in at least our second year right now.
Yeah, nobody watered the trees in 2000 and half the trees in Trinidad died, and
That's right.
now we have a bunch of dead trees in this town
That's right.
because of year 2000.
That's in the year 2000.
Yeah.
Ms. Clark and I are gonna spend Thursday, all day Thursday, with Ms. McCool in Denver. We're gonna bring back we hope, the full draft of the code. Instead of doing this piecemeal, we're ready to see the entire draft of the code. So as soon as we have that, we're gonna upload it in your packets. We're gonna push off adoption down the road a couple of months, and we're gonna ask you to start digesting it in pieces and writing down questions. Remember that our goal is to adopt this by December, by the end of the year. So it's gonna be 260 pages long. You're gonna wanna pace yourself in reading through this. To that point, sign code, we have that moratorium right now on any digital signs in town until we can discuss that. When we come back on Thursday, we're going to upload the entire code to you. We're going to upload the sign code as it exists, what we're taking to council separately. And we'd like any final comments that you want to make on that.
This coming Thursday?
We're going this Thursday. It may be next Monday before we have it uploaded to you. Right now, I can't speak until we go and see what Ms. McCool has, but right now, based on our verbal conversations with her, the recommendation of the commission was to have no digital signs in the downtown that had any motion or any of the scrolling or the digital LED signs in the historic district. However, under a conditional use permit, other areas of town might be considered, and we are letting them know that was a split vote, 5-2. The second piece is the creative sign process is going forward as a section that was a split vote, 4-3 against, and from the commission. However, it's going forward with some changes where you wouldn't actually be the body that sees it to approve it. And I think that might end up being a staff or an administrative approval. So once again, this is what Ms. McCool, what we verbally talked through. So we'd like to upload it and have you reread, particularly the sign code. So we're going to put the long 260-page code. We're going to pull the sign code out separately and ask you to review that piece first. Our intention is to take that to council in August after you've had a chance to review it, comment on it, and get back with us.
And Wayne and I, and maybe even Sonny, will be criticized that we're too old and
that criticism did come forward in a letter. But that letter wasn't from staff, Commissioner Moderano. So.
We need to get out of the box and into the situation. What was
We're not in tune with something.
No,
so,
I have a question on that.
Yes.
Would I be allowed, am I gonna be allowed to be a part of that, even though I wasn't here in the very beginning?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. You're part of the board.
Absolutely. So the board, Commissioner Coker, that's a great question. So there are quasi-judicial decisions where if you came in the middle of a hearing, like you wouldn't participate necessarily. And then there are legislative and planning type decisions, and anybody can come in and out at any time in those. So you're absolutely on board. We'll be asking you to review things and have questions. When we present, after you review this, the main thing that I'll need back from you, and I'll probably spend some time with Chairman Fadnick and Vice Chair Leone to discuss this, is when council takes this up, do we want to participate in that discussion as a commission? I know as chair of the Historic Preservation Commission, Mr. Pritchard is likely to participate in that discussion from that position rather than so much as a planning commissioner. However, I'll be setting up a meeting with you when we take it to council to talk about what role the planning commission needs to have in that discussion. If it's just a recommendation verbally, and then you let them go forward. I'm anticipating great comment based on our work session that we had. I'm anticipating a lot of that same comment will come forward, so. Last thing, boy, trash cans tonight. Where do you want what's your direction? We had a lot of different discussion.
For a lot of years, even long before I've moved here, I've been saying, why doesn't this town have bear-proof trash cans in the residential?
That was the longest meeting I ever sat through in 2014. It was insane. The haulers came out against it. Council backed down. Bob Holder was here. He went to the whole thing. He was obviously for it. It was a 4-3 decision against, and it did
I would
not
like to
change.
see it come up again. I mean,
Okay.
I think it's something that's huge.
It's a cost. It's a cost of it all.
It was the
I used
cost.
to be in that business.
But that's a cost that you pass on to the owner of
Yeah,
that
but-
trash company who charges a customer again. I don't get it. I mean,
That's where the cost is prohibited. There's people out there that are fixed income.
They can't afford it.
But they're not required to have a bear-proof.
Well, that's
it's
residential. That's what he's asking.
Residential
yeah,
area.
but what does the price increase go from
That's a
what you
lot.
got existing to making it right?
That container is worth, it's unbelievable how much they charge for them.
I think it should be limited to commercial.
Now, that's a different story, but he was saying.
I don't, because every trash can, if we're talking about trash in this town, I'll drive by and take 10 pictures tomorrow of trash cans all thrown up and down these alleys and arroyos because of bears. And do we want the trash in the river? Because that's the problem. There's more trash from that than the bums. And
to follow up on Commissioner Coker's question earlier, every marijuana establishment in the historic district has a requirement that they secure their containers, because the general code for the downtown historic district addresses refuse. Not every application that we have and that we see requires that, particularly if you go all the way back to 2014. Prior to the staff that you're working with now, most of those conditional use permits have absolutely no requirement on refuse. So I apologize, I don't remember which commissioner it was that talked about making a change at the ordinance level. That would be the way that you would touch them all, is to make that change at an ordinance level.
I think my biggest concern would be commercialized. I get what you're saying on residential, there's an issue there, but commercial-wise, I mean, those cans should have a metal lid on them. I mean, there's no question in my mind, for me, because then it's much easier to lock and hold everything in there. Plastic lids ain't gonna do it. Do I know that it's gonna be up to the trash company to put forth some effort to make that happen? Sure I do. But we have to, I mean, that's where I was confused. Do we have the right to tell them guys, you know?
oh yeah, you do. We have the right to tell them.
And that's where
The city
I'm at.
does.
This should be metal lids on commercial with bars, because we can sit here and talk about Kansas City or all the marijuana shops, but you go down to McDonald's, Taco Bell, so they have enclosed deals on them, right? So it's harder for the bears to get in there.
The bears are in McDonald's.
I was going to say that. Yes, they are. And what's happening is they're plastic lids. Majority of these places have plastic lids. It should be a metal lid with a lock over the top of it. That would take care of a lot of our commercial situations.
So I would say it needs to be an ordinance that requires commercial establishments to have tamper-proof dumpsters.
So I think it's always good when you're talking with a specific industry, and the haulers are the industry I'm talking about, to maybe bring them in.
Yeah.
And our first step would be to bring them in and find out, first let them know that someone stood at a planning commission meeting and said they don't have metal lids available for those that are requesting it. And see if we can find out where that
I'm going to
lays.
find out the cost difference between a bear-proof can compared to a regular can.
For residential.
Yep.
You're gonna be really surprised.
Yeah. Well, they're making profit. They should spend the profit back.
Okay.
I think it's a joke. If they care about the trash of the town and the cleanliness of the town.
You're talking about an enormous amount of money.
I don't care. They're making an enormous amount of money.
Yeah, but he's talking
They
about
are-
to charge the people that are on fixed income, that's what he's talking about, David.
Yeah,
So-
no.
The
So it sounds
container's
like-
good. It's just not prohibited, it's not gonna happen.
Well, I know in other towns they do it, and the trash ain't
I
blowing
know.
like Trinidad.
So it sounds like before we can even talk about making a recommendation at the legislative level, we need more information.
Yep, I'm gonna do my own research.
And I think that would be great.
Find out the
I
cost of
think
these trash cans.
I'll work with Mr. Gutierrez and we'll set a meeting with the haulers to come in and meet with city staff, and we'll start working through our system and bring you back something in August. I think by August 22nd, we can certainly do that and look at if they're providing them now. If so, can they estimate how many percentage of them are out there and what the costs are? And then I definitely want to find out if the
Try to
metal,
do that.
if the metal tops are being requested and they're not available.
It makes no sense. If somebody wants one, not to.
There's already an ordinance that it all has to be enclosed.
Just
Well, but
There's-
enclosed doesn't help that much. Bears?
Yeah, I know, and that's not even being enforced.
Oh, yeah. Nothing's being, our code enforcement officer.
Hey, exactly.
Don't even go there. Richard, don't even go there. Let's meet him in 1 hour.
So that's what I had on my list. Did you have anything else for staff?
No.
I move that we adjourn.
Code enforcement.
Okay,
Yeah, let's
thank
move
you.
to adjourn.
And those old guys